Call a meeting of the Okeechobee Utility Authority to order, September 16th, 2025. With all the guests, if you'll please stand, we'll say the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
Call the roll. Steve Hargrave.
Present.
Tabitha Trent.
Here.
Glenn Snyder. Here. Tom Gilliland here. Steve Nelson. Absent. Jamie Gamatia. Absent. Barry Mullenhauser.
Here.
Melanie Anderson.
Present.
Do we have any agenda additions or deletions? Oh, no, none. Okay, we'll mark you present.
8 o'clock traffic.
Oh.
I will just in a minute.
First.
Do I have a motion to accept that there are no additions or corrections to the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mrs. Trent, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. Moving on to the rate study review. John, going to present that?
Yes, please come.
We're ready for you, John.
Okay. I was trying to call someone, see if they're gonna be.
What?
Great study.
Okay. You go for it. So, item 3, rate study. Let me bring it up here. We've already opened the public hearing, I guess. So, huh? Okay, so that'll be next on this study. So the rate study was brought up at last month's meeting. It concerned a report from Raftellus to look at 2 issues within the OUA, the existing and proposed rates for revenue concern for the OUA, as well as a potential change to the master meter calculation or use, and that was under the large user analysis. So I don't, let me see here. So the net effect of going through the rate study, and it's in your board package, came down to 2 different options, option A and option B. Option A was just looking at the rate analysis that was projected for 26 and future, and based upon the expected current revenue for 26 and up through years FY30, as well as the impact of the expected capital projects to the tune of at least 29 million that is yet to be covered by either loans, rates, grants, what have you. So in option A, they separated out into 5 different categories, all based upon attainment of grant monies to satisfy this capital project experience, starting with scenario 1A, which was no additional grants, fully funded through rates or loans, down to option 5, which was 100% grant coverage for those capital projects. As you can see, they started with FY26 at the proposed 4% rate increase, and then there would be varying rate increases from 27 through 30, all of them starting at the 4% expected increase for capital for cost of living or inflationary indices, and then the percentage on top of that that was necessary to meet the capital expense. And you can see the varied rate increases ranging from, back to 4% up to as high as 9.5% under the no additional grant funds. Option B was to take what was learned from A and then say, if we accelerated some of those rate increases during FY26, what would be the impact overall to the expected rate increases, which would lower some of them on an annual basis, providing a smoothing effect, a more continuous feed for the rate increases. But it does mean a higher increase for 26. And that was ultimately where the rate study that was presented last month came down to these two options based upon that calculation. Do you want to add anything to that, Larson?
No, I'm fine with that.
So we'd open it up to any questions that the board, at the time of last month's meeting, it was deferred to this month, hopefully having time to digest what was given to you last month, ask questions of staff, other folks, and then try to make a decision this morning as to, do you want to have a change from what is projected now, a 4% rate increase in the budget, or do you want to do something different? I think there was one other question. If you wanted clarification, what is staff's position on a recommendation? Be happy to give that to you. From my perspective, option A is probably the preferred route as opposed to B. My reasoning on why not to choose option B, we're trying to project forward what's supposed to happen in 27, 28, 29 as far as possible grants that we might get, when capital projects would kick off, how would we fund it if it is a loan, when does that debt come on board, and there are some unknowns with option B that we can't project. It also does not show me that the overall rate increases would go down by accelerating. So again, from my perspective, option A would still be the course that we would want to choose. I'll ask my esteemed finance director if he has anything different, but that would be the staff, from my perspective, recommendation.
Larson, any comments?
Apart from, I do agree with Mr. Hayford's response in that when we looked at option B, if we should attempt or recommend an acceleration in FY26, the first year, by adjusting the projected rate to 6%, which is a 2% increase above the 4%, it will only lower 27 and 28 by 1%. That is when we look at the 50-50 financing. So there's a lot of uncertainty, as he said, and to give a 2% increase in 26 and only realize 1% reduction in 27, 1% in 28, I don't think that is any material effect on the ratepayers at this time, and therefore I do concur and agree with option A at this time, because I don't see any material impact or effect on the ratepayers, and therefore FY26, the rate consultant did maintain that the 4% is sufficient to meet the requirement, and I think that is what we should do, 4% for now, as he has recommended.
Any questions from the board?
The $29 million shortfall is based on the future sewer project?
Yes, so there's a breakdown. I'm not sure if it's.
You didn't put it in there, did you?
And it was 22 million of it was just Treasure Island
Treasure
alone.
Island, yes. Yes, the bulk of that is Treasure Island. It would be in there on the presentation,
Yeah, but you didn't
yeah,
attach
it's
it.
not inside here.
Do you want to see what that break? I can try and find
I
it.
would like to see it, please.
And then there was the,
Southwest Fifth
AMI
Avenue.
system. I think that was, 3 million?
Southwest Fifth Avenue.
Southwest Fifth Avenue. But the bulk of it is Treasure Island for sure.
Page 27.
Of the agenda?
Yeah. So,
I don't see my numbers here. 27?
yeah. So obviously, that shows 25, there's a 3 million for the AMI. But then that shows that there is a 25, 27. Of the shortfall, $22.5 million related to Treasure Island alone by itself right now, which is the majority of the shortfall. Southwest Fifth Avenue projected to cost, what, 6.7
A little over 7 million.
7 million. We have roughly 5 million funded right now. So there's about a 2.5 to 2.8 shortfall on Southwest Fifth Avenue, and the balance has to do with the AMI.
Well, my preference is to leave it at 4%.
Do I have a motion to,
Just across the board?
Yes.
On the option
I
A,
don't need to accelerate.
in all the scenarios, there's some hard hits to the ratepayers. To me, it just appears that it's harder hits than what's in option B. And I understand option B, but worst case scenario, under option A, next year, it'll be a 9.5% increase. And then 9.5 after that, like I said, that's worst case option. And it looks to me like the option B, even on the worst case, it's less of that hard jump projected for each year in the future. Under all the different options.
So let me at least offer this up. When we look at 27, 28, all the way out to 30, there are some estimations made as to when contracts would be let and at what interest rate if we're borrowing money, or whether we're able to get additional grant funding through other sources that were not identified. So when you look at those 5 choices from 0% grant funded to 100%, those 2 bookends probably are not going to happen. We're not going to get 100% grant funded, and we're not going to get any more money. So you have to pick the 3 in the middle, with the understanding that the distribution of the construction happens when we're projecting it to. So those rate increases on a given year could happen, or they could be different. They could be lower. The only thing to take away from it is, if over the 5-year planning horizon, all of this activity happens and we only get 50% grant funded, those could be the impacts of the rates. So option B only raises the FY26 rate increase by 5%, 6%, 7%, whichever one you want to choose, which will then force a lowering of those same rates based upon the same adoption of construction and at percentages of grants in the future. So you'll see them lower, somewhat lower in 27 and 28. Yes, sir. It's,
Was he here when you made your comments as to why you're supporting option A? Were you here yet, Damon?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I heard it. And I mean, I understand it. I'm just looking, well, let me ask a question. Everything goes south. Economy takes a dump. And it has before. If we go under option A, we're saying next year, we're gonna do a rate increase by 9.5%.
so if we're gonna use that scenario, that everything tanks in the economy, doesn't mean we do all the projects either. So all I'm gonna say is, the only thing guaranteed that we're talking about here is what's happening in 26. That's in the Bible, you know, that's there, right? That's you know, the stone tablet, here's what we're projecting. 27 and above is all fluid. It can change. We might delay a project, we might accelerate a project. You will deal with that next year, May, June timeframe, when the preliminary budget comes out for 27, that we start tweaking it and adjusting it.
So we're not saying that we're gonna go by this rate increase. If we take option A, this is not, we're not gonna go with it.
27 and forward are all projections. You will have plenty of time between May of next year and September to look at our budget, tweak it, delete things, add things, and see where the adjustments come in. All we're trying to say is, if all of this stuff happens, and if we get the right funding, this might be a projected change for 27, 28, all the way up to 30. There's not, you are not taking, well, I mean, you could, if you wanted to, you could make a motion to say, let's go ahead and project all these rate increases and we live with it. But I'm telling you, we probably ought to do it the way we do it, like every year, take a look at it and look to see what's in the budget and go forward from there.
My only thing is, you know, we're obviously adding infrastructure, especially Treasure Island. And I don't see anything on there about any upgrades to our wastewater plant. I know the headworks needs to be, some serious work needs to be done there. That's the issue I have with it.
So what I will tell you about that, there is an ask in with the legislature. I will get into this a little bit later, but we've run into this problem. We'll get sidetracked here. We had an issue with the Lake Okeechobee BMAP coming out in June. Got finalized. And in that BMAP process, they added a stipulation through legislative directive that all reuse sites that provide reuse in the BMAP area have to have advanced waste treatment at their treatment plant. We don't have that. I'll tell you that right up front. We don't have it. Right, Mr. Gamatea? So we do not have advanced waste treatment at the facility. So because of this BMAP coming out in June, we automatically know that we're going to have before, and the mandate is it has to happen before 2034. So within 9 years, we're going to have to spend upwards of 15 to 20 million at our wastewater treatment plant if we're going to continue with reuse. And it doesn't matter whether it's off-site or on-site. It's reuse within the BMAP, which we lie in. So we know, starting off, that as of this action that happened in June, and it's going to be discussed today, that we're going to add that to our legislative delegation, that here's this unfunded mandate coming down that says we have to go to AWT just because we're in the BMAP, but we practice agricultural reuse. So both for our hay production on site or the off-site agricultural likes a little bit of nutrients in it because of plant uptake, yet they're forcing us to remove it. So the short answer to your question is, while it did not make this document that started back in May timeframe or whenever they started putting together the rate analysis, it is in our legislative delegation ask. It's going to be in October, and it will be discussed briefly today. And we're going to start that process. So the first step of it, I did a phased approach, would be the planning and design documents for going to AWT and money for starting at the headworks to refurbish it. So there is money that's happening. It's just
But
not.
is that gonna be another increase to the ratepayer?
That is one of those deals. It depends upon where the funding sources come from. You know, the ask that we're going to say is this was a legislative action, not that we were in violation. You know, it's just a legislative action. So we're going to start with Tallahassee to see about funding and then go from there. And if it is grant or appropriation,
But are we
then
putting the cart before the horse here? I mean, we're asking for $25 million to do a sewer project in Treasure Island. Should we worry about taking care of our wastewater plant before we add more to it?
well, I'll take exception to that we're not worried about our wastewater plant.
I didn't say that.
We are worried about the wastewater plant, and there is activity that's going on with correcting clarifiers and adding, you know, pumps. What I'm saying is that there is a movement to switch to this advanced waste treatment, and it starts with asking the legislature for $7.5 million as seed money to get this started, out of the $20 million. If that doesn't happen, then we will go to the next step. We will have to look at the next step, whether that is other grant opportunities that are out there, or going the SRF route or something like that where we have to borrow money. If we were to do that, that is going to be a financial impact to this list, and maybe some of that has to be shifted around or deleted to fund it. So yes, it is a fluid document. We're not saying that this is cast in stone and this is what we're doing.
Right.
It is only an effort to look forward, and this is what's on the table right now. And does it have to happen? AMI doesn't have to happen. There are some benefits to AMI. Do we have to do all of Treasure Island? No. We could do the force main and the north collection system and trim it. There's things that we can do.
Has there been a projected revenue for Treasure Island?
I can't say recently, other than those numbers were taken into account for some of this future connections. You know, when they come on, the 2,000, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 new wastewater customers, and that rate has been added. So again, this is just the list of where we're at today. It is not going to be inclusive of everything in the future. I mean, it's going to change. And again, the AWT thing is something that has just kind of blown up in the last month and a half, long after this document was well on its way to finalization. So I don't know where that's going to land, but it is something that we now have to address. And if we don't do reuse and we send it all down the injection well, then it doesn't matter. We don't spend. We still got to do the upgrades,
Right.
but we don't have to go to AWT, which will be nutrient removal, disinfection, storage. I mean, there's just a lot of things with the AWT that we would not have to do.
I know I'm going off course a little bit, but the injection well permit, we're in compliance there. We could put everything down the injection well.
Yep, the injection well is rated at a little over 18 million gallons a day.
Okay.
And our treatment plant is permitted for the magical 3.99, you know, to stay under the $4 million gallon staffing requirements. Although we still get caught up in it, but we're rated at 4. We currently push around 1 million gallons a day through the treatment plant. So we have, 75% capacity still available, and we could use the injection well. So a lot of moving pieces.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Good?
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? We don't need to vote on this,
Yeah,
right?
the idea would probably say no, although there is a motion on the floor to leave it at 4%. That would be by board. Clearly, by the time we get to the public hearings, we have to know that direction, that it's going to stay at 4% or change to something else.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we did.
But I have a question. So going to, I don't have page numbers here, but in the packet, it says, should the board approve a rate adjustment above 4%, and staff ask that a motion be made, so on and so forth. But we're making the motion at 4%.
You're leaving it at 4%, and clearly when we get to the public hearings of the rate schedule and the budget, that 4% is already built into it. So it requires no real change.
So there's no redirecting of funds as this particular,
If this motion passes, it's status quo, and we keep on going to the rate schedule and the budget. Yes, ma'am.
very good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. The motion passes.
So, is there, we can go with a large user. I mean, it's still a state of a change, and I'll have to work with OUA board attorney on this, because at some point in time, we will probably need a formal agreement between Lakefront Estates as to what we're providing and what we're needing. I got word as late as yesterday where, well, let me back up and give a little bit about this. On Lakefront Estates, this is the development going in Glades County. The developer has put in their own wastewater collection system and treatment plant, and that was not to be involved with the OUA. They have started putting in their on-site water distribution with the intent that they wanted the OUA to own, operate, and maintain that, so 1,400 meters out there. But on that same basis, as we were talking with them, they were talking about wanting to go to a master meter so that we would not own the water distribution up on property. And as of yesterday, they called to confirm that that's the route they want to go, with a master meter, because they're moving a storage tank they had planned to build up in Buckhead Ridge. They want to move it to their property, and I told them then it can't be on our distribution system and under their control. It's all or nothing, and they recognize that, so they're going to go to a master meter. So, along those lines, they were asking us the question about, well, master meter, if you're talking about 1,400 units, how can we have that general same billing practice when we don't send 1,400 letters anymore? We're sending 1 or 2, and should there be some kind of discount for a development of that size? So this large user analysis was to look at, okay, if it's a minimum of 250,000 gallons per day, what kind of billing scenario can we propose that's going to be different than our current master meter, which is, there's no difference between a single family residence and the master meter. It gets all billed the same for the smaller ones. So in this sufficiency study, they gave us, I should say, several proposals to look at as far as for billing options. And we kind of went through that, and if you want, I can go through those again pretty quickly, but we would like to get some direction from the board as to if there is a preferred option, so that we can further work with our rate consultant, and then I can work with the OUA board attorney to come up with a legal document with them, understanding who is doing what at what, who's responsible for what as far as for Lakefront Estates water and wastewater.
I know there's been a lot of discussion, because every time we talk, something else continues to change. So Are there any written proposals being sent to you other than the continuous discussion in what they're planning to do?
The short answer, I will tell you, no. There's nothing clearly defined. The difference between this, a lot of it has to deal with the developer, and they have changing opinions and viewpoints. A part of the reason why I suggested that the board attorney and us, we reduce this to an agreement in writing as to who's doing what, who's providing what is that long term, and try to stop all the changes. So that is the position that I would like to be able to take, that we could bring back, in any agreement that we draft up obviously would come to the board for review, discussion, and approval before we implement that. So the short answer is, other than permits and plans that we've seen saying this is who's doing what, I don't know of any formal agreement, and that's why we're going to try to do one.
What is our agreement with them as of today?
Again, we'll go back to the wastewater side. They're controlling all the wastewater collection, treatment, and disposal. OUA has no part in it. Water, it was a trade-off between whether we would own the water distribution system and do the billing on a monthly basis, or we go to a master meter and we just provide water to 2 points at the property line, and they control the distribution system. To get water to the property, the developer has paid for and is installing a larger main from the Buckhead Ridge Tower to their site. That's on their dime and their direction. We get to oversee it because we're going to own it. And then coming from town near Southwest 16th Avenue, the fast break, down to the Buckhead Ridge Tower, we've implemented to date 2 projects, phase 1 and phase 2, to upgrade the water distribution to a 16-inch water main and doing away with the 6 and 8-inch. On the table would be, the next step would be phase 3 for the water main improvements. We would be going out for an engineering RFP to do the design work and construction. Phase 1 and phase 2 was split at 50-50. The developer paid 50% of the fees and we paid 50%.
So as of right now, we don't have a solid agreement in saying we're going to provide them water.
There's not a written agreement. There has only been the discussions. And they did permitting, through DEP, and they've done this work, and the board has approved, the 2 phases of the water main with the knowledge and intent that that water would be going to Lakefront Estates.
What other options do they have?
For water or wastewater? Water, the only option they have is to build their own water treatment plant. Conceivably, they could enter into discussions with either Lakeport or the Seminole Tribe to bring water to them, but I think they've already looked at that and decided that that's not an option they want to pursue. If they were to do that, we'll get back to the same problem that we have now, that the OUA designated service area is from Kissimmee River to, I always forget the name, Indian Prairie Canal, I think is where it is. 1 mile either side of State Road 78. That is our service area per, agreements.
But we have an agreement with Glades County. Glades County let Lakefront Estates become a CDD.
Well, I was getting to that.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's fine. That is our service area as defined by the interlocal agreement. The problem that has come up, as Mr. Hargraves just mentioned, Glades County allowed Lakefront Estates to develop a CDD, and in that development agreement, it clearly stated that they could put in their own water and wastewater system inside our service area. So the question then becomes, if we're the service area, how did they allow somebody else to move in without the consent of, or knowledge, of the OUA? And that would go to somebody that has much more legal opinions on something like that.
So John, now that there is an established CDD, does that allow them to compete for grants and what have you?
I don't know the question as to whether they are deemed a public agency, but they probably can do grants. As a matter of fact, in your board package, there is a grant that was submitted for phase 3 of the water main project on State Road 78, and Lakefront Estates did much of the heavy lifting for that grant application, and clearly has their name on it. But it had to go through us to go to the Department of Commerce.
Was that before there being a CDD?
Ma'am?
Was that before they were a CDD?
No, that just happened in the last month. The CDD was many, many months ago.
Okay. That's interesting.
Academically, you're asking that, yes, CBDs are eligible for a number of state grants, and federal, I'm a little bit unclear on, but state, certainly.
So like I say, they did the one that's in your board package for the phase 3 State Road 78. They did much of the heavy lifting for that.
So there could come a time that we're competing against each other, is where I'm going with this. Is that correct?
It's not going to be. They are. Because if you remember what I said, they are doing their own wastewater system. We don't have any part of it. So from a wastewater perspective, they are going to be operating inside our service area. That is a question that I've posed before, and well outside of my wheelhouse, as to how that could have happened.
So why would we give them a discount
Right.
for master meter? What would be the point of that?
So-
Competition.
That's great.
Well,
And with the CDD, that they could go out and get a loan tomorrow, and it goes directly, the payment of that loan would go directly on the homeowners within that CDD, right on their tax bill. It's very simple for them to be able to do that, as long as they would have the funding source. So it's very possible. I mean, at any given time, they can say, oh, we're tired of paying that water bill. We're just gonna build our own water plant.
but let me pose, what would be wrong with that? Well, I mean, where would we be damaged?
Well, we spent money on infrastructure that possibly wasn't needed at the time.
The infrastructure that we're spending, the 50% on these, the benefit to the OUA is that there are planned projects down there, let's say Okatani, Bass Pro. We do have 1,500 existing water customers in Buckhead Ridge, and however many hundred along State Road 78. We have a 2 water main scenario, very old 6-inch cast iron, and a kind of old 8-inch ductile iron water main going down there. And we're replacing both of those with one 16-inch water main going down, which frees up, and they're on either side of the road. And we're talking about bringing back a force main from Okatani to the OUA. So we're freeing up one side of the road by combining the 2 water mains into one and freeing up. So there is a little bit more to it.
Right.
And so that's why the option was decided long ago under phase 1 that we would do some cost sharing with them. So half of that project has been funded by the development. So if we were to take, again, this will be a legal question, I would assume, but if we were to change direction and say, y'all need to build your own water plant, the question that would then come up, the water main that they paid for from the Buckhead Tower to their property, and the two, phase one and phase two, 50% payments, do we owe them a refund? Because the intent was that that water main would serve their development. So it's, it's kind of, once we started down this path, it was that assumption that we would be providing them water. And we would pick up the 1,400 new water customers.
Well, this is where I really think that we need to put the assumptions aside and really hone in on some form of a written agreement as soon as we possibly can.
And that has already been talked about, that it would be written now that we have this definitive answer that they're providing the wastewater and we're running the water lines down to them, and it's a master meter. Everything's been decided. We can put it in a written document.
So at any time, they could change their minds and do their own water treatment plant.
Absolutely. But here's the benefit. Maybe I shouldn't say it this way, but the benefit is that's their choice. And their involvement and their investment in our infrastructure becomes ours. And we still serve the Buckhead Ridge community like we've been doing since the inception of OUA. And the water main will be large enough to serve the needs of the development at Okatani. And we free up the right of way so that we can put in our force main. So it's okay. The problem is we lose 1,400 water customers.
So, John, my understanding of this whole deal is, as soon as they get the main hooked up to the tower, they can have water. Is that correct?
They can get a limited quantity of water. They understand through the hydraulic effort modeling that they're only going to get enough water for so many homes. And not until they complete the whole 16-inch water main and they build their storage tank to meet the fire flow, they will not get their full benefit of 1,400 homes down there.
And I guess at that time, they'll be paying the full rate for water, or
Okay.
25% of whatever that is.
If we change nothing, we stay with the standard master meter deal, they would pay the rates that are on the rate schedule right now. If you tell me that this large user option is the way we would go, from 0 to 250,000 gallons, it would be the current rate schedule, and for 250 and above, we could implement the large user fee schedule, which, to get back to your question, sir, why would we offer them a discount? Again, the procedure was, if we go from reading 1,400 meters and producing 1,400 bills, taking 1,400 payments every month, there is a certain cost. They would pay 100%, just like any other ratepayer would pay in the system. But if we switch to only producing, let's say, 2 connection points, so we produce 2 bills and take 2 payments, should we still charge them the full rate of 1,400 when we're not doing 1,400 readings and bills? That's where the discount comes in.
Yeah, but that would be their choice. They're the ones who want the master.
Their choice would be, if there was not going to be any discount offered, they probably would say, we don't want a master meter come in and read 1,400 meters and be the owner operator of all that piping system.
We'd have to maintain all their
meter boxes, valves.
Without the master meter.
So by moving out front, we don't get into reading the meters every month. We don't own, operate, and maintain the system. So there is a cost savings.
Yeah, but I think with the CDD, they are the owner of all infrastructure within inside that CDD.
They can be, they don't have to be.
Okay.
So what they would be telling us is that we would be the owner operator of the water system. So yes, we would still own and operate the water system. They are going to own, operate the wastewater system. From my perspective, this is just me, the master meter gets us out of any kind of question about what's happening on the property. They're responsible.
And And going back to the package plant and the CDD, the way I understand it is they needed that to happen because it could happen sooner. So as soon as they had houses built, they had some water from the tower, and they could get houses sold, people there, that would help move their business forward. That's the way I understood it.
Yeah, because they originally were trying to go on the concept that they could get septic tanks out there, and that just wasn't gonna happen. So they had to regroup and put in their own package treatment plant to get to that initial build-out, whatever it is, 200 homes, 300 homes, whatever it was.
And they really won't get the full discount until they have about 1,000 homes.
To go to this, what we're projecting here, they have to get up to 250,000 gallons a day of water. Before that, it's
What is
just,
their estimated water use?
there's a lot of numbers bounced around. I don't, here, I can tell you real quick. I'm gonna say it's somewhere around 450,000 gallons. Okay.
That's with 1,400 homes
Yes, sir.
and businesses.
It's 1,400 homes, yes, sir. Now, it could be slightly more than that, but that's a number that I have right now.
So what's interesting about this whole thing, John, is it's opened up a new avenue, something I've not thought about with OUA, are these large users, the scale, and who is a large user and where they fall into a category. Is there a way we can get a list in what the qualifications are for different usages, so for the board members?
For different what?
Like KOA and some of these other large users, what's their discount, how much water they use, or how much
It's
they
real-
have to use to fall into a certain category?
It's real easy. This is the first one.
Because I thought you mentioned that like KOA is a large.
If we implement this large user, what I said was we have to go back to those current large users that are a master meter and see if they fall in this category.
Okay.
I don't know that they will.
But I would feel more comfortable knowing those users before we make this decision.
Yes.
Because it could have, I mean, I'm thinking like the KOA, or what about our school? Is there an impact there to the school or the hospital or,
No, none,
The jail.
none,
or the jail?
none.
Wow.
Because right now, they're not considered master meter accounts. We could conceivably go in and look at that, but, you know, the deal is, when we look, when we look at what this particular one offers us, that we're not reading 1,400 meters and maintaining miles of piping system, there's the benefit to them that they have their own system and can treat it however they want to, because as a consecutive water user, or from our benefit, we don't go in and maintain miles of piping, valves, fire hydrants, household meters, you know, whatever. So there is that trade-off. When you start talking about hospital or the jail, you're not talking about miles of piping and multiple meters, and it's just not the same thing. KOA, a little different. KOA, we own up to the meter. We do nothing on property.
And Silver Palms?
Silver Palms is different because the lots are owned by individuals. So it's going to sort of like be lakefront estates, right, where the lots are owned by individuals in KOA. But they wanted, going in, they wanted to have individual metered lots that they could do their own secondary billing. Whereas, it's my understanding, KOA, I don't even know about lakefront, whether they're going to do that individual billing or it's all going to be rolled into their monthly CDD fee or the rental of a lot at KOA. So it's kind of slightly different. But we would look at that. So when we talk, I'm sorry, we're getting sidetracked here. When we start talking about the large user analysis, from the board's perspective, is there something else that you want to see before you can kind of give us direction? It's not a definitive answer. We were just hoping that if the large user is something that we want to pursue as a company, OUA, and let's just say for the sake of the discussion, that option 2, water, and option 2, wastewater, is the preferred route, then as staff, we can go further and develop that. If you want us to bring back more information, tell us, and we'll bring that back at the October meeting.
John, where would they get their irrigation water from?
So initially, because they don't have a wastewater treatment plant, it would come from the OUA. That's their plan. What I had suggested to them is they may want to look at utilizing some of their lakes, stormwater ponds, and putting in their own irrigation if they wanted to system-wide. Because the use of drinking water, that's reached a high level of treatment and disinfection, using that for irrigation is certainly okay because it comes delivered at pressure, but they're going to pay a lot more money. What they hoped was that when they started this, that they were going to be able to utilize reclaimed water. However, I would hope that their engineers and their people understand the BMAP and knowing that they would have to go to advanced waste treatment. I shared the BMAP with the developer, so hopefully that's gotten distributed. Short term, OUA water. Long term, I don't know.
Well, I would support further exploration of a large user discount. It makes sense that it's costing us a whole lot less to provide them water if we're not paying to.
It will cost us less, yes. There would be a savings. And certainly, there was 2 options presented. We can go through them real quick, but option 2 in the study basically said there would be the monthly fee and a fixed fee per 1,000 gallons. Option 3 under the rate sufficiency study kind of mimicked what we have now. There was a base fee that every unit would get, and the volumetric charge would be a 2-tier event. There would be a slightly lower rate for 0 to 3,000 gallons, and every 1,000 gallons above that paid a slightly higher rate. That's on the water side. Wastewater, same way we do it now. There'd be a base charge and a volumetric charge. From a staff perspective, we're kind of the leaning towards option 2 for both of them, for water and wastewater. So it'd be a fixed base charge and a fixed volumetric, whether water or wastewater. If there was other information you needed, glad to try to pull it together and bring it back. Otherwise, conceptually, if you would agree to the large user rate, we can formulate a plan, and that certainly would still come back to the full board for review, discussion, and acceptance. This is not a done deal. It's not finite.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and move forward with formulating a plan for large user.
And option 2?
That's an option 2.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Mullenhour, and we have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Trent. All those in favor say aye. All All those opposed, like sign.
So we will work towards developing the large user agreement, and we'll leave it at 4%. And as we discussed, I'll meet up with the OUA Board Attorney, and we'll try to formulate the framework for an agreement between the OUA and Lakefront Estates.
At this time, we'd like to open the public hearing of resolution 25-04, schedule of rate fees and charges.
Need a motion to open.
Need a motion?
I'll second.
Who is first?
We didn't have a motion.
Oh, I'll make a motion. I'll also make a
Motion by Mrs. Trent, second. Second by Mr. Hargraves. No, okay.
Vote.
Do we have any public comments? No.
Yeah, there was a
Oh, I'm
vote.
sorry. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. This time, do we have any public comments?
Mr. Martin, make a motion, Bert Culberth,
Yes, sir.
make a motion that we get all the chairs that you guys have back here in the crowd. I just have a question on the rates. Does the rate schedule take into account the surrounding counties, and are they competitive with the surrounding counties, or is it just the needs of the OUA?
Yeah, we have a graph for that, don't we, Tom?
Yeah, there's, let's see if I can find it here.
Good question.
The short answer is yes, the rate consultant does look at what the proposed rate increase is going to be relative to a lot of different utilities, whether it's FPUA, St. Lucie County, Charlotte County. Let me see if we can get to it. Should be like one of the first things in the package.
Page 15.
Right here. So if you see this one, it ranges from the city of Clewiston up to the city of Venice. Right here in this 2/3, if you will, is where the OUA proposed rates are going to be relative to either St. Lucie County or OUA existing rates, or Fort Pierce, Collier County, Charlotte, Fort Myers. That's where those, and it's based as it said, it's on your monthly usage, because that number is gonna vary slightly, whether you use 3,000 gallons or 6,000, the total. And that's all based on 6,000 gallons.
So we're already in a higher percentage.
We're at about 2/3, yes, sir. What this doesn't, they try to take into account other utilities. Let's say might be a city utility, and they serve outside of their city. They add surcharges onto those areas outside of the city, or, they have different ways that they can raise revenue. Or if it is a county or city government, they have to take into account if they have public works utility people, public works department employees helping the utility department to do a project, how that fee, it all has to try to factor in. So when you see the different cities and the counties, you just have to know that they try to take that into account when they're looking at this, but it always doesn't work that way. Whereas the OUA is strictly just water and wastewater only. We don't deal with storm drainage or roads or anything like that.
Scott Chapman. So my question is, the rates that you charge seem to go up every year, and it's based on, I'm hearing it's inflation, cost of living, but by your own financial reports, you guys are doing better than your projected, for last year. Like right now, you're at a surplus, you're higher. So I don't know, I just question why we automatically just think, well, cost of living, we increase it, and why we don't look at those numbers to make sure that there is a need to actually increase it for the people, for the customers. As a customer, I know that my rate goes up every year. And I understand it's not outrageous, because most of my rate is the minimum fee, because I don't use a lot of water or sewer at my office. But, so that's one concern, because I mean, you guys are, I understand it's their job to ask for the money, and it's, my understanding that you're there to kind of buffer between us and them. So I understand that, and I'm just asking that if you're having these surpluses, that, we at least consider that as part of, like, before we just automatically increase the funds. The next question I had is on you have and I just got into this on an issue that we're here for, but going back and looking at some of these meetings to try to understand what's going on, I seen that John had asked back in 2024 that you have a rate that you were currently giving you were at a 25% discount on, and he asked that you raise it, and you did, up to the 100%. And I know you've had a lot of meetings about this, but my question is so that is considered a restricted revenue on the impact fee part of that, but why, I don't understand why the rate of the install has increased so much, because that is not in line with any county I can find. You are on the high end of the rate increase, or on the install price. So I just did some simple math, and according to the financial report done on the August a meeting, which was through July 31st of 2025, you increased your customer base by 258 customers. At the discounted, now this is only for the connect, not for the impact part of the fee, but just for the, to hook it up. At the 25% rate, that cost, and this is just based on a residential customer, and I don't know what the customers were, but if you take those 258 customers and you do that math, it's like $484 per customer it costs for them to connect to your services. But if you go by the rate that you've increased it to, that's $1,900 per connection. That's just to connect. That's not the impact fee. That's just to get OUA to come out there and hook the pipe up. On top of that, they're having to, pay for someone to run it from their house to the sewer, and they don't have a choice. We've got to remember this, that these customers don't have a choice. They got to pay, or you're going to lien their property. So, I just think that's something that you guys need to look at, is that part of that, rate, that how, with a budget that's already, a surplus, that we need to increase the rate that much to the customer. I'm just asking that you just review that and take that into consideration. Thank you.
Would you like questions or answers?
Sure.
Explanations?
You want to do it, or would you like? Okay. So let's talk about the surplus issue on a monthly basis. In our monthly reports, the budget is assumed for the year, right, as to what the year is going to cost. And when we try to look at it on a monthly basis, good, bad, or indifferent, it's just taken on an average, even keel throughout the year, that it's going to be 112 per month. But our revenue stream, our users, are going to be dependent upon the availability of customers, and as we're aware, our customer base is very diurnal. It's cyclical. There's a lot of customers here in the time frame from October, November through February or March, and then we get into the summertime, and many of our users leave to go back to wherever, Indiana, Canada, wherever they go to. So our revenue stream is going to be quite different throughout a given year. We may end up with a surplus early on, and then later on it tends to even out. The same is true with expenses. There might be something that we have to buy twice a year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year. If we're to that point where during a given time we do a whole lot of purchasing early on, it's going to drive the expenses a different route. So on a monthly basis, it is going to be evident that the revenue stream and the expense stream is going to be different. The option where we have to really look at, and I don't have this information in front of me, so I can't give it to Mr. Chapman or to you, would be when at the end of the year we do our annual audits for the entire year. That surplus, like maybe Larson can answer this, but it's not historically there, not like it's shown in the monthly basis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I was actually looking at those reports that you're talking about.
Oh, well, you mentioned
and
them.
that was 11%. Like for 2023, your total was 18% in the good, higher than the previous year. So that's, so if you just took your revenue was 11% higher.
11.
And so the prior year it was 5.44% higher, the revenue. The year before that, it was 5.3. So
Okay,
I
that's fine.
understand, but it went up 11 in 2023. We don't know what it's gone up this year, but we know from your report in July that you're in the, and I understand that that's not a full, because last month you're going to spend some money. That happens.
Did you compare the revenue stream to the expense stream?
I did.
And you're saying the 11% or 18% was in excess of the expenses?
The ending net position was 18.37%
Okay.
for 2023.
So I'll have to defer that to a financial person. I'm not the accountant, so I don't, when you...
Right, and I'm just going off your reports, so I'm just trying to understand why we're...
Well, all right, the only thing I would add, I'm not sure about the figures. I'll have to see the figures that you're actually quoting there. I have no
These are
previous
your
knowledge.
figures from your report.
Yeah, but I have to familiarize myself. But let's speak broadly.
Okay.
So the budget, let's backtrack. How the budget is actually established in terms of the revenue and the expenses. It is what we project to the following year. Whatever the expenses, we first bill the expense. So let's assume the expense is going to be estimated at $10. Right? Very simple figures, at $10. The revenue that is needed to match that $10, in addition to the payment of our loans, which when we add our loans payment, it probably comes to $12. So on that basis, we are saying that our revenues need to be $12. If we need to increase the revenue over what it was for the previous year, that's how we get to the 4%, 5%, 6%.
But most likely, your revenue is going to increase. You're going to take on customers through the year that you can't account for because you don't know that until a customer comes.
Well, we do make a minimum projection. Like for last year, in the FY25 budget, we did say, I think, something like for the Southwest Service area, we assumed that I think 30 or something like that, 50 will come on in the FY25. That hasn't realized. So in the budget, we are actually accounting for that in the budget, but it hasn't materialized.
But this says you have 120 new customers, that the total connection billed customers as of July 31st, 2025, were 10,234 water customers, representing an increase of 120 customers.
Good.
So you have had an increase of 120 customers.
Yes, we did have an increase in terms of the total increase for the period. I do agree with that. But let's backtrack a bit, back to the budget. So that's how we formulate the budget. We first look at the expenses, we look at what is required from the revenue. Now, month by month, you do find that the revenue might be tracking ahead of the expenses. Now, month 13, because what you probably, and the next thing that we have to account for is that when the 12-month period is completed, there are some other expenses that we have to now bring back into the year based on the accounting standards, accounting principles that the auditors has established. So while you might see a favorable variance of, let's say, $1 million for a rounded figure, that $1 million could be reduced to $500,000. But it doesn't stop there. When the audit is completed, we then look at our operating fund and say, okay, we did make a surplus. So we are going to transfer an amount from the operating into a reserve account in order to fund projects, capital improvement projects. We have not included any rate adjustment. We haven't built any rate adjustment, any percentage increase that will fund some small projects that's out there. But we know that OUA do fund a number of internal projects. So what you find is that we, from that excess that you're seeing, after the audit is complete, we do transfer an amount. Last year I think we did something like $600,000 or $700,000. We transfer to a reserve account, which we then use to finance some projects which are not coming from the ratepayers. So when you balance it out, yes, if you look at the initial part, it might seem that yes, there is surplus, but when you look at the full picture, there is an amount that is being financed from that same surplus that you're referring to meet some capital improvement projects that we have not come to the ratepayers to say we need a 2% to finance this project or a 3% to finance this project.
I understand everything that you're saying, and that is business. I understand you're gonna, my concern is that the cost that you're here asking for more money, an increase, and I'm just saying that this looks like you're doing pretty good, like you're running a pretty good ship here, that you have a surplus every year. So as the board, to me, I'm asking them to say, hey, why do we need to push more to me if you already are running a tight ship and have a surplus? Do you expect me as a customer to pay for your new customers? I'm sure a portion of that is figured into my bill, but if you get more customers in Treasure Island, I'm an existing customer that I paid my fair share when I had mine done. Does that really fall as a burden onto me to pay to add to your infrastructure that's going to bring you more customers? I don't know, but I'm just saying that as a customer, I think you guys have a surplus, or you are running in a positive, and to just automatically say that I should have to pay more in my bill because the cost of living has gone up, it just seems like, if that is the fact because the paperwork showed it and you guys I wouldn't even be here asking about it. But it just seems like when you're asking customers, when you're asking new customers to pay $2,000 to just get on the system, to me that's not a very good business decision. The problem is, because your customers don't have a choice, they have to get onto your system. It just seems unfair that's a lot of money to ask to just hook up to your services. I get the impact fee. I understand that. That's the cost of putting all the infrastructure in. That's how you generate part of that money. But I know that it doesn't cost OUA $2,000 to hook up the sewer and water for a customer, that when you're just doing a backflow preventer and a meter, or tying in because it's different than, I would say, if some counties say, well, it's a fluctuating scale depending on how hard it is, which I don't know that you guys do that. I think it's a flat fee. But if it's down the street, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to pay to have that brought to me, correct?
Yes, usually.
Right. So that difficulty bears on me anyway. So all you're willing to do for $2,000 is take it from the location at the street that's already there and hook it to my pipe that my plumber has run out there to the street. And $2,000 just seems like a lot to me. So I'm just saying I would appreciate it if you guys would at least look at that and just,
Okay, so let me at least talk a little bit about that. The 4% that we're talking about is not, if it changes the 2,000, it'll change it by 4%. So it's two different animals. We have a rate consultant that sets the fee, And then the budget increase of 4% is supposed to help cover those increase. So the $2,000, and let me back up. You kind of used interchangeably between impact fees, which we call capital connection charge. Let me try to answer. You interchange the terms of a connection fee and an impact fee, and they're not the same thing. They're for different bases. So let me just at least be true about this. The connection charges, water or wastewater, is to make the physical connection to our system, whether it's installing a water meter and a backflow or connecting to the gravity sewer, the force main, the vacuum sewer, whatever. That's the physical cost to do the connections to the system. What we call a capital connection charge, which is not, it's also, other people call it an impact fee. There's a big difference between an impact fee and capital connection charges. Typically, when you see a community talk about impact fees, they're collecting money from developers or new connections to pay for some future service, whether it's a new school, new fire station, roadway improvement. It's an impact fee for some future project. The difference with our capital connection charge, the OUA, has to have the capacity built before we can allow somebody to get a building permit. And so see, the big difference is, ours is, we've already, the OUA.
Right, I'm paying for what you've already done in my connection fee.
Okay, let me try to finish. The capital connection charge is to pay, we have already built the treatment plant, and we have that expense every year. So your question of do ratepayers? Absolutely, because we have to have that debt service every year. But to help to defer that future connection charges to the existing rate, we charge new connections and the capital connection charge, and that money can go towards any capital expenditure. It could go towards that previous, the existing capital debt, or a future, but it is established.
The connection fee you're talking about.
The connection charge is to go toward, that's why it's restricted, it's to go towards not an everyday expense. It has to go towards that capital fee. Typically, it goes towards annual debt service payment.
So capital, you have a connection fee, and then you have, what's the other?
There's a connection or installation, and then the capital connection charge. So the one you're referring.
The capital connection is
restricted.
Restricted.
Yes, sir.
Has to go to, and then, but I'm talking about the actual connection.
The actual connection would then be for the placement of the water meter, the backflow, the tapping of the water main, bringing the service line up. It could be going down to the gravity sewer and bringing a lateral up, or setting the vacuum pit, so it's not when our people show up and they dig a hole and say, here's where you connect, that's overpriced. It's the total picture of getting that service ready for the connection. We may have already spent some of the money, like we put in a vacuum pit to serve 4 houses. If only 3 houses served, then the 4th and final one hopefully would bring it up to the full cost of installing that vacuum pit. But when you build, you're just going to see us, you're going to dig down and tie in. There's very little effort on the part of the OUA at that point. We've already spent the money because the pit's there or the lateral is there. So it's kind of hard to say, well, it's not worth $800 or $1,200 or $2,000 for the connection, because we've already done some of the work.
But wouldn't that be then in the capital connection part? If you're asking me to pay for work that's already done, that really is capital connection fee, not the connection fee. Because the connection fee is me paying you to actually hook the pipes together.
Okay, that would be a matter of semantics on how you define what the connection charge is.
It's restricted, so it's restricted to go to that, correct? Like, that's why capital connection fee is restricted.
To go towards the infrastructure, you're correct, and that's defined is the main line treatment plants thing, not the service lines coming in, because that's a different definition. And so of that is why the fees are different, and they can go towards different, if you will, piles of money.
Right.
The capital connection is towards existing debt, restricted for that. The actual connection to setting the water meter and the backflow is more of an operational cost. So they just go to 2 different pools, And that's why folks need to understand that, yes, they can be different. Now, the topic of, you brought up 25% versus 100% for the restricted fund, the capital. Again,
That's not the restricted fund. I mean, it is in the restricted fund also, but I was talking about specifically the connection.
all of that was applied at a 75% discount.
Right.
They chose to do that. So at the time of a water meter installation, we were taking a loss at what we were charging because we were not recovering the full fees or the capital connection charge. The idea was those rates were set and established, and for the time period being, the board elected to reduce it by 75%.
When you say you're taking a loss, I have to disagree because your finances showed that you're not taking a loss, that you have a surplus. So there's money in there somewhere that's paying for it, and I'm not trying to argue the semantics. And look, your people do a great job. They've always treated me right, and they on the job getting it done. I have no problem with that. I just say we call it what it is. And if it's going to cost $2,000 to connect to your system, on top of the capital connection charge, on top of paying a plumber to run a pipe from your house out there, and I don't have a choice because you just decided to bring a pipe and thought this was a good neighborhood, then I think you should consider that of what people have to pay. These meetings have been filled with people I've watched up here upset about how much that increase has cost them, and missing this deadline, which is this magical time frame that automatically, by some time frame, you've decided like today it costs this and tomorrow it costs this, but it doesn't change the fact in the field it doesn't work that way, or in the capital connection it doesn't work that way. You've done it for a very long time at this 25% rate or reduction of 75%. And I understand why people would be upset, is all I'm saying. And I'm just asking that, I understand the capital connection is to pay for the infrastructure, and that's already done, and you have bills to pay, and you need that money. I'm just asking that you look at the connection fee to try to help people that are burdened by this. This doesn't apply to me. I've already got this, and at this point, it doesn't apply to me. It may at some point, but at this point, it does. I'm just here because looking into some of this, I had these questions, and I'm not here to argue with you at all. I mean, I don't know the complete ins and outs of how it works, but.
So let me at least end with from my perspective, let me at least say that. Looking at an overall budget, by your analogy that there is a surplus, does not necessarily tie to an installation of a water meter or a backflow or wastewater, because those installations are a very small, minute portion of the overall budget. So saying this, that there has to be a surplus because we're charging too much for installation as one aspect, I'm sure there's others, is kind of a misnomer there. The issue that I will raise to you is if you're looking at that paperwork and you don't see the connections, the dots between revenue stream and expenses, I will offer up to you, you're more than welcome to come here. We can pull out all the paperwork. You can show us your questions, and we will try to give you answers to see if you can say, yeah, I get it, or no, y'all don't get it here. You know what I'm saying? There could be a free flow back and forth.
I appreciate that.
And so much more than what we could do here at a meeting with limited time and resources. But I will tell you that we'll set up tables right here in this boardroom, and we'll sit down and we'll have all the paperwork that you can present to us showing us where this 11 or 12% or
Well, I would hope that that's something you're doing with the board, not, I'm just one person as public, but the board is the one that makes the decision.
Scott, I can assure you, you have made very valid points, truly. Same valid points that some of us have made that you do not see on camera.
Oh, no,
We
yeah.
have grilled these guys
Right,
time and time
and I'm not
again.
trying to beat the dead horse, I just
Right.
am trying to bring it up.
Yes, and we appreciate that, very much so.
All right.
Yes.
But
I don't want to hold up the meeting.
Well, you're not holding up the meeting. Ultimately, what this process is, this board, OUA, are here for the ratepayers. And if there's something that you want to say and do that we may not be seeing or may not understand, I'm more than willing to listen.
Okay.
But you have to give us a little more information so we can say, I get it, I see what you're doing, or we show you some stuff and you can say, I get it, I understand it. So if you want to have that meeting, let me know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. And I do recommend that, because that's what I do. I come in and sit down with John and Morrison and try to understand.
It's good.
It's a lot deeper than what you can just see at the meeting, for sure. But, yeah, I don't know what our capital costs are this coming year, is like $2 million. Most of it is to upgrade and repair the existing system. You know, the stuff wears out, and the expenses are going up every day here. Okay. Tabitha has to leave, so are we still good or not?
And I don't think so.
No?
1, 2, we don't have a quorum.
No. Oh, no, yeah, I'm still got.
We have 1, 2, 3. We got 2 city. I guess we will. Yeah, I'm sorry, we will. Jamie, you're voting now.
Okay.
With Glenn leaving, you're voting, that's 2, Harry and Steve Hargrave. So yes, we do have a quorum. Sorry, Tabitha. You can breathe now. I didn't mean to scare you. I don't know. Did you have a question, sir? Or? So right now we're at the, if there's any more comments from the public, then we move to comments from the board.
Any more comments from the public on the board? So I need a motion to close the meeting.
No, none from the board?
No.
Then we need a motion to close, please.
I have a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gallantia, a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Now we'll open public.
No, sir.
Need a motion.
We need to do the last step, which is the motion to approve resolution 2504, please.
We need a motion to approve resolution 25-04.
So moved.
Mr. Hargrave made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. So I need a motion to open public hearing to resolution 25-5.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gallantia. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor? Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
So we'll do a quick presentation then of the board, to the board.
Okay, so very quickly in terms of the FY26 budget, we did have a workshop, and over the past few board meetings, we have been making presentations in terms of what we were proposing in this budget. In terms of as a summary, we are projecting or proposing a 4% rate adjustment. It should take effect October 1, 2025, the start of FY26. We made a calculation in terms of the operating revenue. We saw where we could to offset the expenses of $11.6 million, that's the overhead, plus another $2.4 million for the debt servicing, $2.5 million for debt servicing. And by the time we apply our transfers, we would need a revenue of $14.5 million in order to balance the budget. So we first look at the revenue, the expenses, the overheads. Then we also look at what is required to pay our debt financing. And looking also what is our transfer in and out in terms of what does the board policy require us for the different reserve funds. We are looking at transfer in and out roughly $400,000, and therefore the revenue that was needed is $14.5 million in terms of to achieve a balanced budget. This is the budget as we present now, and ask that the board do so open for discussion, well, that the board review, and we are able to answer any question that the board members may have at this time. Actually, any comments on the public in terms of the presentation, summer presentation, before we go to the board? Does the public has any question relating to the presentation of the FY26 budget?
I need a motion to close the hearing. Well,
Comments from the board?
comments from the board? Have a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gomatia, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, by like sign? Motion passes.
Now we need the motion for the resolution, please, sir.
I have a motion to accept the resolution 25-05.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gomatia, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Do we have any comments or additions or deletions to the consent agenda? None? Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mullenhour, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. So we're just gonna accept the workshop minutes, but we need to do anything more with that.
Only if there are any changes. If there's no changes, then we'll take a motion to accept as presented.
We have a motion to accept the workshop minutes as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hargraves, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. So at this time, we have employee recognition. Oh, did I do something wrong?
Meeting minutes, number 25.
Oh, we jumped over that. Oh, sorry, Michelle. We have a motion to accept the meeting minutes to August 19, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mullenhour. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, now.
Yay! Yay!
So Michelle's 5 years of service as an employee of the Okeechobee Utility Authority. And present her with this certificate of recognition, and I believe there might be a small check in there too. So thank you for your service and all you do for us, keeping the board members straight and this crowd in here straight. Thank you.
25 to go.
So, what's the next? Okay, John, we have the discussion agenda.
So, up first was a discrepancy in a bill submitted to a customer. The bill was submitted, it passed the due date, so a penalty was added to the bill for missing the payment date. They asked for that to be removed, and, staff doesn't have necessarily that reasoning if it wasn't due to a billing error, something on our part. So they've asked to speak to the board. I don't know if they're still here or they've left. I guess they have left. They were going to come here to speak to the board, but they're not present. So I don't, from our perspective, we can take no action if you wanted to at this point, see if they show up later. We can move on to the next request, because they are here.
So is this a master meter then, John?
No, yes, well, yeah, I would assume it is, because there are multiple units behind it, yes, sir.
So there's one person in charge of paying it?
Yes.
And what's the amount? Do you know what
The billed amount was $4,407, the monthly amount that they did not pay till late.
And the late fee is?
10%.
And they've been on time?
I don't know. Do you have anything on their billing record? I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to go look.
Just curious.
I think we should probably just
What's that?
table it,
I was gonna say, would you entertain a motion just to table it?
Yeah. And if they want to come back?
What? You tell me when to stop, no? So they didn't include the payment history in this?
Did they give a reason why they were late?
I do not.
Instead of changing management or something.
Yeah, go back up to.
Here's what they added to it right here.
I can't read it.
Unexpected managerial change.
There's a one-time oversight, they're saying.
We can table this till the
Yeah.
next meeting.
I'd like to table it,
If they come back and they want to
well,
speak.
and let's review their pay history also, please.
We'll see if they can join us next month, and then we can try to get this resolved.
Do we need a motion to table it or just?
Just take no action.
No action at this time, okay. Customer, Mr. Cole?
Good morning again.
Good morning.
My name is Bert Culberth. I'm representing K&B Okeechobee Properties. And it's I think the address is 121 Southwest 7th Avenue. We applied for a connection back in March, actually March 31st this year. We were given a quote. Actually, Scott met OUA staff on site to make sure we could connect and everything. We received a quote, a total quote of $2,846 to connect, which we accepted, or we decided we would accept, and we decided to start the process for a permit. August 18th, we were ready to go ahead and connect, and we received another quote, and it was $10,262 at that point. I apologize, I think I have my math wrong. It's only a 280% increase during that 4 months. I think I had a little higher than that, but the request would be that we could connect at the quoted price in March 31st when we started our project versus the $10,262 now.
Is that a written quote?
Yeah, 2 written quotes.
It's,
And in addition, we if we were aware that there was going to be some type of increase, we would obviously pay it at that time. We were not aware, we were not made aware. At the very bottom, I was told at the very bottom of this quote, it does say, cost estimate valid until the end of the month in which the estimate was prepared, which means the quote that we got on March 31st was good for 1 day, apparently. So, I don't know how we operate as a business with a 1-day quote, but that's what we have.
Can you, explain to the board what your project consisted of? I think that could possibly.
We're connecting one toilet, one sink. So the connection charge is more expensive than basically the rest of our project.
And to speak on this, so the problem is, as a contractor, I've given him a quote, and there's nothing on there that says there's gonna be a 280% increase. I mean, I understand a general increase, and in my contract, there is a stipulation for a general increase of, 10%, whatever. That's why we re-quoted at the time we were ready, because I assumed that there could be some sort of increase. But when it was that amount, I had to go back to him, and because I had, and then now, if he would have known that was gonna be the cost prior to the project, we probably just wouldn't have done the project, because it would have outweighed the cost of doing the construction for the project. So it just seems to me like, at least on that quote, it could have said, hey, April, whatever the date, this thing's gonna increase by 75%. Then I could have passed that on to the customer, and they would have known that and been able to make their decision at that time. It puts us in a hard situation, because we don't have a choice at this point, because we pulled permits, and now our building permits are not gonna be able to be finalized if we don't have a connection. And so it just has put us in a bad situation here.
Who prepared the quote?
This quote was prepared by staff, OUA staff. Christy Arnold, if you want to know a specific name, but by OUA staff. Bert, did you have anything more to say? Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I did have a question that's not regarding this, but I'll go ahead and we'll go through this now.
So in answer to the question, yes, the terminology that's here on your screen, it does say cost estimates valid at the end of the month. It was prepared on the 31st. Obviously, in verbatim, that isn't acceptable. Typically, it's been changed now to read that it's valid for 30 days, calendar days, or if there's a rate increase after that. What I will say about the statement that there was no prior knowledge of rate increases, we've attached to here examples of monthly bills that go out to everybody. Not that anybody reads our bills and looks at every section in there, but notices were put in there that rate increases were going to happen. Certainly there are public meetings, certainly there's social media out there, Facebook, OUA webpage, where rate increases were notified. It's not to say that this builder or this applicant saw those applications, but they were out there. So I can't be specific for any one of these two people that are here, whether or not they saw any of these public notices, but they were out there.
Yeah, so I'm not on social media, and I obviously was not in the loop on all of what's been going on with this rate increase. So to see a 280% increase, and I understand it's been a 75% decrease for over 10 years, apparently.
Maybe 12 or 13, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, more than 10. You're
so
correct.
At some point, it's not a decrease, it's the rate. At some point, that's the rate to the ratepayer, or to the person that's paying it. So to have a 280% increase on a quote was pretty shocking to see when we're trying to complete a project, and we're towards the back end of the project at this point. And it's broken down. I mean, the installation of the water meter with backflow went from $452 to $1,806. Well, I don't think in our eyes, it changed by $1,400 to do that task over that period of time. But that's what we're being charged. So all we're asking is that we're charged what we were quoted. And I know what you're saying is, probably would have given us 30 days or whatever, but it doesn't say that.
Oh, I understand. You're correct.
And if we're meeting with staff and you guys know that this is about to go up 280%, just tell us and we'll pay it. That's our position. So that wasn't told to us, not anybody's fault. I'm just saying that wasn't told to us. So again, all we're asking is what we were quoted on the price.
It went from 2,846 to what?
$10,262 for a toilet and sink.
Other comments or questions from the board?
They ask the attorney if there's any precedent being set if these fees are waived.
No, sir. There's no precedential value if the board wants to go in one direction or another. As a legal matter, these letters, it's up here, April 30th, 2025. Those are good in terms of having a customer be on notice. The letters will do that. Customers don't do social media, customers don't call, they don't read their bills. They have a duty to read as a legal matter. But the board has a lot of latitude here without saying, oh, this is a bad precedent, now we have to roll back everything. That would not be the case. You can do whatever you want in this situation.
I'll just say this, if we were given that quote up front, and you guys are given the higher quote now, then we would know the price. But we're dealing with a situation where we were given a quote at one price. We started our project, went through permitting. Now when we try to connect, it's a different price. So it's probably a little different than different other scenarios.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if he was only given one quote, one price, that would be one thing, but him being given the initial quote, then I think we could look at that. I would personally like to look at it. I mean, it's a very large increase. And I'm found, I drive by that area, I'm familiar with their project, and I look over there and see that, and that's a lot of money for a toilet and a sink to be in operation.
Any other comments?
I kind of think that part of this is our fault, because when the first quote was made, I mean, it was almost the same day it was going to expire, and I just feel like we should consider it.
Well, I think we bear some responsibility on that, since this has been a hot topic for 8 months. We've tried to make sure everybody's aware of the rate increase. And I put that responsibility on our staff too, that maybe that should have been a handwritten note in that quote. Hey, you have till April 30th or the rate's gonna go up.
Yeah,
I think we need to own some of that.
There should have been a reference on the quote, right?
Yeah, because of all the issues that we've had to deal with.
That's right.
To try to prevent any more new issues such as this. That's my opinion.
And maybe we need to do a better job, informing the office staff that we have made the decision to go up or whatnot,
I'm sure everybody in the department knows it.
Oh, yeah, they know that.
I'm sure there's complaints coming in the front door we haven't heard about. But the board has been more than generous trying to make everybody aware. Sent out letters. We made 3 extensions, if I remember correctly, on this rate increase. As you can see, some of the projects coming down the road, if we have funding or don't have funding, we don't know. And part of that increase in the rate was to make sure we have money fund this, because from the way I understand it, Okeechobee County is high pressure to get off the septic tanks on the sewer. And that's not cheap. So.
Can I just add one thing too, that, so, because this would be a new customer, we had no letters, because there was nothing being mailed to us at this point, just make sure we're clear on that,
Yeah.
because if we would've seen that, of course,
Good point.
we could've, you know.
And that's my point, where you should have, to me, we should have made you aware of that.
Right.
When the quote was made.
I would like to make a motion to revert back to the initial quote.
I have a motion by Mr. Hargrave to accept the initial quote. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Donatilla. All those in favor?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Payment due within 30 days? Is there any time limit, or just, I mean, I know you're probably ready to pay right now, but I'm just saying, for the clarity,
Sure.
is there a time limit?
Yeah, we would ask that you.
You want to amend it within,
Yes.
amend it to say 30 days?
Yeah, so, motion to revert back to the initial quote with payment due within 30 days.
Do I have a second? And second, Mr. Donatilla. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
I appreciate it, thank you guys. Can I ask one other question, Mr. Hamilton?
Mhm.
On your report, now, if this is off subject, just stop me, but your projections for 26 on the capital connection, did it say 85% of 25 revenues? Was that what it was used in the budget? I don't know if I was reading that wrong or not, but.
The capital connection,
When you determine your budget for fiscal year 26. And the only reason I'm asking that is because with the increase in the capital connection charges, I would assume it would be higher than that.
so the capital connection that I'm looking at here, the budget FY25 had 262, and FY26 has 129,000. Is that what you're referring to?
So you're projecting less?
We are projecting less. And the reason is, in the FY25, we did include Pine Ridge Park. That was like 100 and something new customers. So we had projected in FY25 that Pine Ridge Park would have been completed. In FY26, we only took, I think, something like 20 persons from the Southwest Service here. So the numbers, first and foremost, is significantly less. The second thing is that the removal of the 75% discount was being talked about from about a year or 2 years before. So when FY25 budget was done, we did assume 100%. And in FY26, we also assume 100% in the capital connection. So it was not 75% in FY25. The budget was built with the full amount being recovered. The board took the decision to reduce it between October 1 to April 30th.
Okay, so the 85% was a budget, not actual?
This is budgeted figures that I'm referring to here.
Does that make sense?
Well, what I would ask is the same, if you could
Okay. Yeah,
show us specifically rather than guessing where the 85, we can give you a definitive answer.
I was just assuming with the additional raising the fees that you would expect more there.
That would be true, but if we were utilizing the 75% discount in FY25, but what I'm saying in FY25, we did not assume 75% discount, we assumed the full 100%, because the board was talking about that from last year.
Okay, good enough, thank you.
All right, thanks.
But we also did have a fair amount.
Thank you for being here, both of you, thank
We
you.
had a lot of people come in and prepay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's what you're looking at, is that, I don't know how many, John,
Well-
do you know how many?
In terms of the numbers, I don't have the exact numbers.
Yeah, it was probably pretty high.
Yeah.
The prepaid, so they would be ahead, even though they're not gonna hook up maybe for a year or two.
Right.
they're already paying the connection fee. We allowed that.
Smart.
Okay, John, what about Kings Bay?
Kings Bay, just for backup and reference, remember that Kings Bay is set up where there are a number, all of the homes and businesses, well, there's no real businesses other than the homeowners association, but all the establishments have pump stations at their houses, whether it's a single house, quadplex, or whatever. There is a small grinder pump station in the front yard that pumps to the Kings Bay plant. Way back in time, early 2000s, the homeowners association was tasked with keeping up with all those pump stations. And they had different plumbers coming in, different contractors, different styles of pumps. There was a fiasco as far as how the system operated. Some pumps were higher head, some were lower flow, all kinds of things. So they came to us and asked us, would we take over the operation end and maintenance end of the pump stations. There was an agreement made, and so starting in about 2004, we took over the operation and maintenance of the facility with the understanding that all of our labor, materials, equipment that we charged during a given year would be back charged to the individual units in the next year, so that we were always basically covering our cost for rather than individual costs. It would be a universal across all units. So for 2025, looking back at 23 rates, it's established at $10.64 on a monthly basis to each account. It is higher than normal, but sometimes that happens with pumps that wear out or tanks that back up. It is just a true cost. So what's up in front of us today is to establish the Kings Bay individual rate for the coming year at $10.64 per account.
So any upgrades to that system, they pay for and they take charge of, or do we have to do it?
So I wouldn't use the upgrade analogy or system. It's for just the pumps and the tanks at each individual location. So if they call us up saying their pump is not working or it's backed up, we go there, either fix the breaker, fix the pump, unclog it, pump it down. Those costs are recorded for the year, and at the end of the year we go back and look at the total cost spent and come up with a service charge, if you will, for that coming year. And it's reflective, so we'll be collecting it in 25, it's reflective of those costs during this current fiscal year.
And what was the previous rate?
It was $877.
So there's no additional charge on the customer other than their monthly fee?
Oh, no. They pay their regular water and sewer bill.
Right. But
What we add on top of it is this service charge.
If we have to go out there and change a pump, they're not getting charged anything, but
they say thank you very much and we're gone.
so they're paying they'd be paying a little over $120 a month for
A year.
a year for possibly a $1,800
Or $1,000 bill or whatever.
pump.
Yes. And it's spread over all users of Kings Bay because it's the same type of system. It's a low pressure grinder pump system.
I didn't quite understand on your chart. I mean, you've shown 24 as 1064. Should that be 25 or?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of, we're going to be charging it during 25, but it's reflective of the charges incurred in 24. So however you want to pursue it, you could show this table as in 24, we're collecting $10.64, but it was for the preceding year expenses. We're always a year behind. So it depends on how you want to look at it.
It cost us.
Have they been paying 1064 though?
They were paying $877.
They've been paying 877 until we pass this today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it costs us $10.64 a month per resident.
for services we rendered
For
last year.
2024.
Yes, sir.
It's the average out of all our costs.
Right.
Well, it is what it is.
I know back in the day that used to be a nightmare.
It still is.
Is it? I mean, had to slow down anyhow.
It's gotten better than what it was.
No, that ain't what. Joey's over there shaking.
You know, okay, well, I mean, I guess
No, I
it's,
remember, I mean, it used to be bad. I mean,
when it's bad, it's bad.
yeah.
But you can go days without any calls, so, I mean,
I think Queen Campbell and I spent a year down there every day. So,
Was that before that we'd standardized everything, or?
that was
after?
right when we took it over.
Oh, okay.
it was a mess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Mess.
it was bad. They had no idea where lines were,
Yeah.
where pipes were in the ground at. I mean, it, like John said, it was, 10 houses, you'd have 10 different size pumps.
Right.
5 different manufacturers. So,
Pump sitting up on top of milk crates.
yeah. I mean, I personally think that's a pretty good deal. I mean, for what it consists of.
So I guess we need a vote to accept that, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion?
I move to accept the proposed fees for 2025.
Motion by Mr. Mullenhauser, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. All right, Southwest Service Area.
Okay, so where are we at with this? Let me get to the right page here. As a refresher, the Project 2, the Southwest Service Area, is divided into 2 different vacuum pump stations. Vacuum Pump Station 4, which is in the south section, Vacuum Pump Station 5, which is up on the school board. It's all the northern. Vacuum Pump Station 4 is nearing completion. We still have to get record drawings from the developer. Once we get the record drawings, we put together a package, send it to DEP to try to get a partial release for the Vacuum Pump Station 4 area. If we get that partial release, we can activate the system. So to that point, we've taken all the piping system in vacuums that's associated with Vacuum Pump Station 4 and tried to break it up into smaller groups, 20 to 30 homes. And what we would like to do, and what we are trying to do, is under this first bid package, there are 3 different areas. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. This is Pump Station 4. We would like to build a bid package to go out to get bids from qualified contractors to do the installation from house to street. What that will do was try to establish what the cost is on a per unit basis. If we can get an average, look at our available grant monies that we have available to make that, to know what, if anything, is the additional cost that the homeowner should bear. Where we're going with that. Just in a nutshell, let's say the cost comes back at $10,000 per house. And we know this first bid is like for 50 homes. We know there's a total of 520 homes approximately that we have to connect. If we know a bid price of around $10,000, we get the math total. We can look at how much grant money we have available, subtract the 2, whatever is left is going to be the homeowner share. So we're trying to get to that. Is the cost for the homeowner, is the grant money going to pay all of it? Or is it going to pay 75% of it? 80%? Where are we at? We're trying to get to a number. What we don't want to do, and what the consensus is is that we go out and say, okay, we've got the ability to connect, and we send out 51 letters and tell the homeowners, go get a contractor and connect, because they're going to, first of all, they may not even know what the process is, what's required, and there are going to be prices all over the place. So we just felt it would be better for us to go out and get the bid pricing and try to come back to the board with the consensus of what the pricing turned out, where we're going to go, what is going to be the cost to connect to the homeowners. And that's this process. So I'm trying to use this method today to kind of explain what we're thinking and where we're going with this.
So you're going to try to even out the cost between the first people that are connected and the last ones are connected? They're paying similar amounts if it's necessary.
We're going to try to hope that that's the way it works out, because ultimately, the question we want to answer is, what is the cost to the homeowner? Don't know that.
Right.
Can't tell you. But if I get bid prices on 50, yes, we're going to make a leap of faith and an assumption that the other 500 or whatever the number is, 450, are going to be similar pricing. We know what our grant monies are going to be, and we try to make that assumption, leap of faith there, as to is there a difference, and we try to work it out for all 500 and connections, that this is your price to connect, physical price to connect.
So you're gonna look for a proposal for what you call out as Group A. Am I looking at this correctly? The 50,
The three groups total.
We are unsure right now as far as the bid package, whether the bid package would be, you as a contractor can bid, give us a price for all of Group A, Group B, and Group C. So we end up getting individual group prices, or all, whether it be in, we don't know that yet, but that's probably the way we would go, is we're going to have, let's say there's 50 houses there. At the end of the day, we're going to get 50 quotes from the bidders to do that specific house. Because what I can't answer is there a concrete driveway or not? Do they have to go under, or asphalt? Or do they not go under a driveway? Do they go through Grandma's Rose Garden? We just don't know. Every house is different. Is the septic tank in the front yard or the side yard or the backyard? All that's going to change the individual price for a lot. But we have to try to come up with those differences to come up with a uniform price. So yes, we're going to get, whether we broke it into Group A, B, or C, we're going to have individual quotes for every specific lot in that group. Does that make sense?
yes.
So I guess the goal at the end of the day is, what do we gotta do to get these 520 houses hooked up? That's the goal.
And more importantly, what's it gonna cost the individual homeowner?
Yeah. If it's a high cost and they're responsible for it, our concern is, will they get it done? And then we're gonna have to fight.
There's other questions. Do we do a payment plan? And if so, then Lauriston has to shell out $1 million up front to get back over a payment plan for 20 years, 10 years. There's still a lot of questions that we have to answer. But until we get a unit price, I don't know. It's sort of like the lakefront development. Until some decisions are made, we can't hone into a final answer. This is helping us to get there.
So I guess one question is, once this system is operating, will the homeowners be charged an assessment fee automatically, even if they're not on the sewer, like other customers?
So if a particular homeowner chooses not to connect to the system, the OUA procedure is, if they're a water customer, we will start billing them a base charge for sewer, not the volumetric, the base charge.
Right.
And then that lot owner, in this case, would be referred to the county, for the county to take whatever action they deem necessary, because there's a violation of the land development regulations.
And the timeline on that is what, 1 year?
So what we have by the state statute is, once it's deemed complete, the state statute says that the individual connection has up to 1 year to connect from that date forward.
I just wanted to bring that up so everybody is aware of that.
So even though we're doing the bidding and we give them a price, they could elect not to take us up on it, but if they don't, then they might have to do it on their own, pay their own contractor, or they, as a homeowner, some of that work they can do themselves.
Is that gonna be written in the bid that if a homeowner decides to do it on his own, it will be taken out of that contractor's?
I would like to think, when it's all said and done, you were talking about an agreement with Lakefront, we'd have an agreement between the OUA and that property owner stating, here is what is being done, here's your cost, here's our cost, and it's decided. And they can elect at the bottom that they don't want to deal with it, then they're great. But I would think we could probably come up with a simple one-page, if you will, memorandum of understanding or agreement, letting them know what their options are.
We don't need to take any action on this, right?
No, this is really provided as informational purposes, and if there's something that you see that we're missing or something that we want us to look at, we'll take it. But this is really telling you where, as staff, where we're headed and what we're seeing. What's that? Well, okay, I'm sorry. Larson did point out that there is an engineering agreement for the engineer of record to the tune of $14,245 to be able to go in and prepare the attachments to the bid documents, the individual. I think there's an example in here of what we did for Taylor Creek Isles. Let me just get to it. There's a picture here of what the engineer is going to be asked with providing this kind of detail, where it shows the house, the septic tank, the approximate laying length of the pipe to get to the sewer. That's what this $14,000 is going to go through, that we would have as an attachment to the bid document.
When do you think this will be completed, John, have these bids back?
So the engineer has said it would be 3 to 4 weeks to get these 50 documents. Let's just say it's 4 weeks, worst case scenario. By the middle of October, we're ready to go out to bid. It would be nice if we could get, it's going to be tight, to get the bids back by the November board meeting. But that's what we would strive to get to. We should have, this is the middle of September. I'll go out on a limb because they're way over, but I'm hoping that by the end of October, middle October, end of October, we'll get DEP certification, which we need to have before we implement this project. So that should be coming in middle to late October, early November. We get the bids in. By the November board meeting, we'll bring it all back to you and say, here's the fees. If not, it'll be a Christmas present.
Okay. All right, thank you, John.
Do you see any other changes we need to consider, or is this? So what I would need is a motion then, if you would consider approving Sumner Engineering project number 25-14 in the amount of $14,245.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hargrave, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Lowenhauser. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion passes.
Thank you, Larson. Keep me straight.
Southwest Service Area Project 2. Oh, that's it, okay.
So now we're on to item 32. Again, more engineering fees for the Southwest Service Area Project 2. And what is driving the need for these additional fees are that the project is way past substantial completion and final completion, which necessitates additional on-site engineering fees, resident inspection, as well as engineering fees for in the office, working through that, to the total of, if we estimate that this is going to take us through 123 days, which if they complete by the end of October 31st, Sumner Engineering and Consulting, Inc. is asking for a increase to their engineering fees, both the project representative inspection as well as staff, to the tune of $66,360. Now, I will caution you, yes, that's a cost to us, but as I suggested, there are, the contractors over on their contracted time to us, which may mean liquidated damages. If you read their contract, and I haven't read this one specifically, but typically in there, it's not only liquidated damages, but it's also relative to fees incurred by the OUA because of their lateness. This would be an example of additional fees paid by the OUA that should be due to the contractor because they're the ones that ran past their contracted time. Can't promise that, but I'm just saying from a standpoint of SEC is concerned, yes, they're incurring costs. Yes, the amount they're requesting, $66,360, is that projected not to exceed. If we complete by October 15th, then they won't spend all that money.
What's the likelihood of us completing by then?
You know, that's a very good question, and I don't have an answer as to whether or not they would be completed.
Not a very good answer. Not a very good question.
It's a terrible answer to your good question, but as I was going to suggest, a lot of that is out of my hands because it's up to the contractor and whether the contractor puts the resources available to get this project done. One of the biggest things that's holding them up right now is to get us as-built information. That's not really the contractor, that's one of his subs, but if he doesn't give us the as-built, we can't go back and confirm that their work was complete and right as far as it is, laid at line and grade, so we got to check slopes. We have done the stuff where we've done the vacuum testing. They are cleaning some of that stuff up. We have some restoration work. It's really up to the contractor. And right now, all we can tell them is you're past due. You are running up liquidated damages. Oh, by the way, we're going to be spending $66,000 for additional engineering expenses that we shouldn't have to pay. So that's why I don't have a very good answer, because it's the contractor, means and methods, getting them motivated to get the job done.
Are we gonna be able to directly charge them that $66,000?
Do you know if it's in the...
I don't,
Contract terms, sorry, yeah.
I'll look at it. I don't believe it is, Steve, but you can absolutely hammer them on liquidated damages. I think they're up to 60-some odd thousand so far. And
what is, it's a daily rate?
yeah,
Yes.
500 a day.
500
for substantial completion. And then 250 a day for final.
Well, one of the reasons I don't know it off the top of my head, this is a USDA project, the only one that we have done, and we had to use their documents. If it was the standard agreement documents, absolutely we could charge them for the engineering fees. I just don't know about the federal government. I don't recall.
Hinterland?
Yes. That's the contractor. So, certainly from a staff perspective, we need the engineer of record. They are incurring costs. Yes, we should pay for this. The hope is that with either through liquidated damages or the contractor outright paying the engineering fees, we should hope to recover some of this, if not all of it.
And Jeff, what does the $66,000 that you're going to be charging, what work is that? What kind of work are you going to do?
I will tell you in here in just a moment.
Yeah, I've got the numbers in there.
They have basic services, which are engineering office stuff, is at $18,360. The resident project inspector, which is Joey, to be out there on the job site looking at it, is a total of $48,000.
And I have cut Joey's time back. For instance, he was only out there about half the time last week, and he spent all of that going around documenting punch list items for later.
Okay.
Because frankly, the contractor wasn't on site. It just didn't show up last week. So I've cut his hours back, but our last extension went through, actually only took us through the end of May. That 40,000 for Joey, that goes back to June 1st.
Okay.
So that's not all from here forward.
Okay.
Steve, to answer your question, I'm not going to give you any better of an answer than John did, other than to say that I'm
too terrible.
I'm hopeful but not optimistic, is the best I can put it. I think you're familiar with the contractor, so.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, we're real close on Backstation 4. Real close.
Yes.
It's just a total project. All the add-on features like these as-built that are just terribly holding us up. And so we're to the point where when they make, you haven't seen annual progress payments, because I've said no more progress payments, because two of the conditions that they need to supply with progress payments is an updated schedule and as-built drawings. And they haven't been providing them, so I said, you can submit all the progress payments you want, but we're not going to recommend approval because you don't have the complete package. So we're not paying them any more monthly or bi-month, whatever, progress payments, just because they're not providing us the documentation.
They submitted a partial set of as-built earlier this month that are not correct. And it's not even the whole set, and that's the first set that we've gotten from them since September of 2024. There was 11 and a half months in between as-built submittals.
So I guess, Steve, we're looking at our attorney asking, is there something that we need to do legally to move this on, or?
Yeah, I mean, if it be something like a demand letter or a notice pursuant to whatever the contract terms are, we're happy to do it. Just maybe we get a read on the situation and not get the hornet's nest. In other words, not create a little bit more heartburn where it doesn't have to be. But I would just write a demand letter at this point.
Well, we've worked with this company before. I mean, we just made the decision not to pursue liquidated damages.
How at Pine Ridge?
Yeah.
Well, it's the kind of deal, if we were, say, under a building moratorium or it was hurting us somewhere else, then by all means. But when we're not, then if we're not, then what it comes down to is we don't want to be out funds. So even with Pine Ridge Park, or even for this one, we'll work with them paying the $66,000 because we should not be out that money. The only reason why we're spending the money is because they're late. So they have the option, and that's the way we'll present it to them, that contractually, okay, here's the liquidated damages calculation. The contract is between this board and the contractor. I can't speak for them, but contractually, they would owe us $60,000, $70,000, $90,000 in liquidated damages. Or they could operate to pay the $66,360 so that the OUA is not out any funds, and the board could take that under consideration when they assess liquidated damages.
So you're saying that you would notify them of this now?
We have notified them with every monthly progress meeting that they are past due, and they have been accruing liquidated damages. And we will also put them on notice that, yes, the engineering fees that we just approved totaled $66,360, and we would be looking to compensation from HGI in some form to pay that.
Okay.
So my question to the engineer, Jeff, is that, based on my recollection of the federal guideline, contractors are to be assessed upon completion of projects. I know when we look back at this very contractor, but you weren't engineer in the Pine Ridge Park. But for this project though, Will we have an evaluation where we can put on file to note for this particular contractor so we can use for future assessment when we are doing bid document? Is that something that you would recommend that we do, or is it, because the federal guideline does state that that is what's supposed to be done?
But I'll try to answer this. We had to use USDA documents, not ours, not the ones that we normally use. So, yes, there are federal guidelines, but we had to abide by USDA documents. So
provided that USDA does provide for those evaluations for use.
Yeah, I'll have to go and look at that, Lauriston. I mean, obviously, we've got to certify to USDA that the project is completed, like we do to DEP and to the board. I don't know if there's a requirement that we give like an evaluation of the contractor. If there is a legal way to do that and have something in the file that can be considered by the board the next time that you do
It doesn't compel us.
Great.
It doesn't compel us, but it is recommended so that when it comes to future bidding, that is what they're on their file, so you can either bar or decide to use contractors moving forward.
It is. You're saying that it is in the contract?
No, I'm talking about general federal guideline.
Okay. I'll have to check.
I'm not talking about USDA, I'm not talking about in the contract. I'm just speaking about general federal guideline when it comes to bidding documents. So if USDA allows for that in the contract, it would be, I think it would be good for us to note an evaluation at the end, because we did have an issue, which the board did write off. Those liquidated damages, but didn't pursue that, I should say. And then we come with this particular case.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions?
Motion, I hold it.
Let's see what he said.
So we need a motion to approve.
Yes, sir, please. The motion would be to approve the amendment to the contract by Sumner Engineering Contracting to the tune of $66,366.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hargrave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion passes. Commerce Department, South State Road 70 West, water main project.
So, Mr. Chairman I'm sorry, Vice Chairman and board members, this was a project that kind of blew up pretty quickly. The deadline was, I think, September 5th that we had to have this application in. There was notice that there is a pending, let me get down here just to show you, oops, where it is. Two different industrial projects out here on 70 West, but one of the selling points for that is to get them water and wastewater. So OUA staff put together two methods of being able to get water to the site, either along State Road 70 or along Old Dixie and up 48. To get there, we elected to make this our primary route, State Road 70. So OUA staff put together under the Rural Infrastructure Fund through the Department of Commerce, a request to fund that construction of the water main project. We got help from both the county planning department, the economic council, as well as letters of from both the regional and local county commission to support this project. And the application was submitted on September 5th to the tune of asking for almost $2.8 million to install this water main. And we'll just have to wait in the upcoming months to know if it was accepted as a fundable project by the Department of Commerce and to what level. So this is really presented as a informational only type of item. There's really no action required. other than, saying that, this is a project of interest of the OUA board. It's 1,300 acres, I think. Lots of jobs, potential, certainly tax base, if either one or both of these projects come to fruition. It'll be huge. The benefit of this is jobs, good paying jobs for the area.
Any questions from the board?
Public comment or anything?
Okay. Thank you, John.
Okay.
Commerce Department, State Road 78 West Water Main Project.
As mentioned before, this was a project that was really brought about by the developer for Lakefront Estates and their staff to help fund the Phase 3 project of a water main along State Road 78. It would pick up somewhere just south of Lemkin Creek and take it just past the Big O RV park. Again, the process of putting in a 16-inch water main and then being able to take out the existing 6-inch water main on that side of the road and eventually take the 8-inch water main on the other side of the road out of service. It's a big project. It's $3 million plus. They were asking for $1 million of rural infrastructure fund to pay for it. The rest of it would be paid for by the developer and the OUA. If this project was to be funded and dealt with, OUA staff is looking to put an RFP for engineering services out on the street to get proposals from interested engineering groups to do this work, such that we would have an engineer selected if the funding comes through, and then board's direction is to move forward with the project. A lot of ifs. Some things have to fall into place, but it is a way to move forward and to keep that project going forward for all the purposes, whether it's Lakefront Estates, whether it's development at Okatani, whether it's system reliability built in with one new larger water main and getting one main out of the way for the force main coming back from Okatani. So it really doesn't, this is really for informational purposes. We've already filed the application to the Department of Commerce, and putting out an RFP for engineering doesn't lock us into signing agreement. It's just trying to select an engineer. So it really doesn't require any board action at this time. It's more for informational purposes. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Any questions?
I have one that's not quite on point. What's happening with, I lost it. Bass Pro. I haven't heard anything.
Well, here's what I can tell you that I know about it. No news is good news.
Okay.
It means they haven't quit on the project. If you talk to those folks who are in the know, the negotiations, they say it is moving forward. I can tell you the last, what is happening right now that they're waiting on, I guess in all this process, they've determined they thought they owned the property, but the state actually owns the property. And so there's going to be a swap of some submerged land that's owned by the county. The state and the county are going to swap some land. So if that were to happen, and that takes cabinet action, once that happens, then the Okeechobee, the BOCC, is in control of that land. That's what I've been told. So no news is good news. It's still moving forward. We're still under the impression that Big Cedar Bass Pro is coming in. Still going to happen. Just it's on a slightly, well, guaranteed it's on a different time schedule than they originally thought, but it's still moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll refer you to the BOCC with any other questions. They are much more knowledgeable on where the negotiations stand.
No, it's just because you know, there for a while, every once in a while you heard something about it, but there's been nothing.
One thing after another, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Pine Ridge Park.
Number 35, sir, the agenda. State Road, is that the one we're on? Yes. Number 35. State Road 78, Phase 2 Water Main Project. Again, this is just provided for informational purposes. Project documents have been signed. The contractor has been given the notice to proceed. They've got a substantial and final completion dates of January 11th and February 10th. Again, this project is a 16-inch water main from basically near the old Shrine Club, which is Orioles, I think now or something, under Limpkin Creek, and maybe 400 or 500 feet south of Limpkin Creek is the terminal point. Contractor, like I said, is trying to set up the schedule when they're going to be on site, and they are well aware they got the notice and they're going to move forward.
Who's the contractor, John?
B&B Site Development. Well, they're doing a tremendous amount of land development work. They've got the equipment, the people.
Yeah, they're supposed to repay you 8th Avenue. I'm waiting on that.
Well, there was a little bit of a problem with a conflict of OUA sewer and the storm sewer. We had a meeting on Monday between the contractor and the city and the OUA. We think there is a resolution to that conflict, and if there is, then that project will be back on track and they'll start the work. Only a portion of the work. They're not doing, I guess they're not doing all of it. It's more of the southern part by 6th Court, just north of 6th Court.
Okay. Okay. Pine Ridge Park, John.
So Pine Ridge Park, that project, we've had a little discussion today. It's been completed. There is a contractor that is building some duplexes on these 5 vacant lots on Northeast 8th Street. They've asked to be able to connect into the OUA wastewater system that was installed in Pine Ridge Park. Staff is looking at that street as well as Northeast 6th Court to do those 2 elements to connect into the sewer system and to look at that viability. So we went back to the engineer of record for Pine Ridge Park, and they have produced a engineering resolution agreement for that project to the tune of $45,700 to do the complete engineering package, the design, permitting, and resident inspection. So if you wanted to facilitate connecting up those 5 new duplexes on 8th Street, as well as the existing homes on 8th and 6th Court, that's what this project's about.
So they'll pay the full connection fee?
For those new connections, they are going to be paying the current fee, which is 100%. Yes, sir.
Will they be on water also?
Some of them, I think one of them is already on water, but yes, it would be, to be on the sewer system, we have to have water and wastewater there.
So we need to make a decision on this today then?
No, we can make it whenever. I can tell you that the builder is wanting to get started on those. And I told him, I said, look, even if we got a green light today, you're looking at 9 months or better to do the permitting, design, and construction of the system. So if we don't make a decision, it just is gonna push off the completion date that much further.
I guess my question is, we spend the money, will he do the project? Will he complete the project?
John, I was out there the other day, he's building a house. Building a house.
Okay. That would be my question.
I was getting ready to say that. There is one already under construction, but your question was, will he do all of them? So, sorry, another terrible answer, but I don't know what that contractor will do. I mean, lots of things could preclude him from building all of them, but his intent as of meeting with him this week is he would rather get them all started now if he knew that the construction was going to happen.
In good faith, maybe he should pay the connection fee.
You know, in reality, he already did.
Did he really?
He paid, when it was in the 25%, you know,
I bet he did.
he jumped all over that, and paid, I think, for just the wastewater. I don't know if he paid all the water, but there are fees. But he would still have to pay the actual connection charge, you know, to do the, but if he's building a house, it's gonna be next to nothing, because the plumber's already gonna run the pipe straight out of the front of the house to the street. So, you know, what we're looking at is, do we want to increase our number of paying customers forever and a day, you know, by 12 or 14, whatever it's gonna be. But we have to recognize we're gonna have all that upfront cost for the engineering and the construction. And that would be spread out primarily over, well, the engineering would be spread out primarily over 26, but the construction could be 26, will be 26, 27, and maybe into 28, depending on when we turn loose the construction. But it's adding new customers.
So we need to wait on Jamie.
If we're going to be voting, yes, sir, we do need to wait on the quorum.
What's the board's?
You won't take a new vacuum station or anything, just
Just the lines.
the lines and the bits.
I mean,
I don't have an objection to it, I guess.
we can't vote yet till Jamie gets back.
Essentially. So clearly what we're looking at is, we can stop any time, right? I mean, if we get to the end and something happens, then we're gonna be out a part of the 45,700, the design fees, obviously not the construction fees, but, yeah, we'll move forward, and then obviously we have to understand there is, the construction cost isn't in here. But as soon as they begin the design, one of the first things will be a preliminary cost estimate of what it's going to be. And then we'll run into that in, certainly for maybe some in 26, but 27 for sure.
So do we have a motion to move forward with the Pine Ridge Park Utility Expansion Project engineering fees?
So that,
We have a motion by Mr. Hargrave, do we have a second? Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion passes. Okay, John, Mallard Landing.
So Mallard Landing, is the element that we looked at, much of the, as a photo up top here that shows, much of the orange is in play now, and they're actually building houses out there. What we looked at was the, I don't know what you would call it, purple or blue, indigo, that element between 3rd Avenue, I believe it is, and 441 that are all on septic tanks. Should we go ahead and do the gravity collection on those 3 streets? So we were already authorized to move forward with the engineering and design and to go out to bid, of which we did take bids on August 28th, and the lowest bid came in at $807,190 from PRP Construction Group, LLC. There was a wide range of bids. We have worked, as a company have worked with PRP before, as with several of those companies. And it's the engineer's recommendation, after checking the bid to make sure it conforms with the bid documents and looking at their submittal, their recommendation is to approve a contract between the OUA and PRP Construction Group Limited for the tune of $807,190.
Where is Mount Lumley?
This is, right down here is CSX Railroad. So here is, 9th where Walpole is, 10th, Tanglewood Apartments are right here, and this is just north of there, those 3 roads. VA Center's up there,
Just north of Gilbert Oil.
And the purple area is on water, city water,
yes, sir.
so they will be required to hook up within 1 year. Is that the typical?
At the completion, they would be required to connect up. I believe that is within the city limits, and the city codes do require a mandatory connection as well as the county.
Have any of them prepaid hookup fees?
A number of them, yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board?
So if it's considerable, first, it'd be accept the recommendation of award from Holt that is provided by Holtz Consulting, to make the award to PRP Construction. The next motion would then be to authorize the board chair or OUA staff to execute the notice of award. And then once all of the required paperwork, the bonds, the insurance, the signed agreement, if and when all that is provided pertaining to the contract documents, then to authorize board chairman and staff to issue the notice to proceed. So we can do that in 3 different motions if you'd like, sir.
All right, will you state the first motion, John?
The one is to accept the recommendation of award letter provided by Holtz Consulting Engineers, listing PRP Construction Group as the apparent low, most responsive bidder, and awarding the contract.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hargrave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion passes.
Motion 2 would be to authorize the board chairman and staff to execute the notice of award letter to PRP Construction Group.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Mullenhour. Yeah, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargrave. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion passes.
3 would be that once all the appropriate documents as required by the contract documents are provided by the contractor, that being examples like insurance, the payment bond, construction bond, agreement, insurance, that type of deal. Once all those appropriate documents as deemed by the engineer have been supplied, it's to authorize the OUA board chairman or staff to execute the notice to proceed.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Mullenhour. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargrave. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign?
I was kinda thinking it was his turn.
Well, he's over there just resting away.
Well, took there 3 or 4 for the team there at the start, so I figured I'd.
Thank you. All right, John, what's our legislative bill?
So we have already met with, Representative Tuck on Friday. Senator Grawl will be, I think it's either Wednesday or Thursday, will be in town. We'll be meeting with them in advance of the legislative delegation meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday, October 1st at 4 p.m. It's typically held in the historic county courthouse. Everybody's welcome to be there to meet up with the delegation, where we, as OUA, will present our list of priorities to the legislative delegation to either look for assistance in securing property, or to do funding of certain projects. I can go through some of these. They're not in any real preferential, but previously additional funding septic to sewer to make the connections from the house to the street, because we're spending a lot of money on capital projects to put the sewer system in. This is to help fund the homeowners' concerns. And so again, there would be a request of upwards of $3 million from the state legislature to assist in funding making those connections happen. One of the other things we're going to be asking for is the current property there where the Cemetery Road treatment plant, it's been under a long-term, like a 50-year TIF lease. If you remember, in the recent past, the state legislature has given some of that TIF lease property that was owned, operated by DJJ to IRSC to build a data center. And then they gave the bulk of the remaining portion of the DJJ lease property. They've given, I guess, a long-term lease to the Water Management District to put in a stormwater treatment area. We were asked to wait until later, which later is now here. We are now asking the state, through our legislative delegation, to approve the transfer of our property that we've had under lease to the OUA, to get us out from under the lease, which has about 8 or 9 years left, rather than trying to negotiate a new lease. It's not like the OUA is going to be moving their treatment plant to another site. We'll have it for a long term to keep up, own, operate. Why not just donate the land to us, get us out from underneath state ownership and negotiating a new lease agreement with them in 8 or 9 years. So that request is made to the legislative delegation. One of the last ones that has come up very quickly, and it's not in your brochure, but it will be added to, is this advanced wastewater treatment thing that we talked about earlier at Cemetery Road, that if we're going to continue the reuse, reclaimed water, that's been very beneficial to both us and an adjoining property owner as a means to properly dispose of the water, rather than putting it down the injection well where it's 3,500 feet underground, the water's lost forever, because it's down in the boulder zone, saline water, you're never going to get it back. So the idea of the advanced waste treatment, it was broken out into multiple phases, with phase 1 being the overall design, facilities plan, and the headworks. The ask is $7.5 million to be funded through the state to support this unfunded mandate, where they passed a bill stating that all reuse, golf courses, public right-of-way like streets, homeowners, and wetted areas and BMAP locations, all are required to have advanced waste treatment by 2034. They could have excluded us because we don't have surface discharge. The agricultural uses, our hay operation, their growing operation, utilize that little bit of nutrients, but we weren't. And they won't exclude us. So we're set. If we're going to practice reuse, we got to go to AWT, so let's ask them to start funding it. And it's a multi-year approach. We start with the overall plan and the headworks. Then we go to the treatment units to be able to add nutrient reduction capability. From there, we look at clarifiers, residuals disposal, chlorine contact chamber, and possibly storage. So it's going to be a multi-year approach that we go through to get to the promised land before 2034.
And we've already asked to be exempt from that, no?
I've made all kind of letters, backdoor trying to communications, and every door is told us that this is a legislative mandate, and DEP, their hands are tied. And I can send to you the rule. I mean, it clearly has that language in there for reclaimed water that's either commercial, residential, or in a wetted area inside a basin, lake, the basin management plan, Lake Okeechobee, has to go to AWT. It's well, anyway, it is what it is. We're required to do it. So like I said, if we're gonna practice reuse, then we gotta do it. If not, we go down the injection well. So that is basically what we're going to be asking for our legislative agreement. And again, there'll be a whole long list of other things they can consider and be aware of. One of them is no unfunded mandates, you know, but that's, you know, what we put on the list. But clearly, you know, we identified all these projects that are pending, but those are going to be the ones that are going to be a priority by us to Senator Grahl and Representative Tuck.
Anybody have any comments or questions for John? Okay, moving on to the proposed benefit increase for retirees.
So this was, I think, talked about briefly at the last meeting. It may have been deferred. Mr. Mullis is here he does not have his Director of Operations hat on today. He'll have his chairman of the Employee Pension Board hat on, and he can give you a brief outline of what's going on.
Are you sure about that?
I can give it if you don't.
No, I said about my pension hat.
You are the chairman.
No, actually, this was tabled at last meeting due to not having a quorum, so the board decided just to not hear about it and hear one time. So what is proposed here today is, over the last several years, has been a request from OUA pension retirees to consider a benefit increase. The system does not currently provide for a cost of living adjustment. The trustees have looked into a couple of different options and what other similar pension plans have done. The two most favorable options are listed below, along with a projected annual increase in OUA minimum required contribution for each option. Trustees authorized GRS, our pension actuary, to perform an actuarial study included in this packet, and the following are the results of the study. Option 1 would be a one-time increase of 5% to participants currently receiving benefits, and that would be a 1.7% increase, which is $45,868 projected annual increase OUA contribution. The second option is a one-time increase of $100 per month to participants currently receiving benefits, which is a 1.9% increase, or $53,752 projected annual increase OUA contribution. That is a reoccurring every year increase. Also included in this packet is a memo from the pension attorney Lewis Longman and Walker, which states the plan may be amended to provide a one-time supplemental benefit to retired plan members. The pension trustees have no discretion to change benefits. They can only make recommendations to the OUA board. Only the OUA board has the authority to change the benefit. Also included in the packet are the meeting minutes from the August 4th, 2025 Pension Board meeting where a motion was made to recommend to the OUA Board to implement a one-time 5% increase to participants currently receiving benefits. The motion received a second, however, the motion did not pass with 2 votes yes, 2 votes no, with 1 abstaining. This followed with another motion to recommend to the OUA Board to implement a one-time increase of $100 per month to participants currently receiving benefits. The motion received a second and passed with 3 votes yes and 1 vote no, with 1 abstaining. After review and discussion, what is the direction of the OUA Board?
So I wanted to ask, at least point out one, making sure perfectly clear, where it says that there was a one-time increase in either one of them. You have to understand, the vote itself to do it was only 1 vote, but it's a recurring cost every month thereafter. So it's not just for 1 month that they get the $100 or the 4, it's every month thereafter those retirees would get that resulting increase. The vote to approve it is only 1 time, but every month they would get, as this pointed out, $100 a month.
Danny, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to abstain from this. Are you going to have a quorum if I abstain from this? Is that doable? I don't know the Robert rules or something like that.
I would tell you that at the pension board meeting, they said no, because you're voting on the greater good, all retirees, not just you, but I'll let our board attorney answer that question.
Only as to the issue of the quorum, I think we need Jamie to maintain the quorum, right? So if she can't abstain without destroying the quorum, therefore the vote would die. So what is the other, I wasn't aware of the other nature of the conflict.
So his conflict is, he's actually a retiree. He's drawing a pension.
Okay.
So but again, the way the pension attorney explained, it's not about him, it's about all retirees.
That's fine. Yeah, good. Okay. Vote your conscience, and as to the body of retirees.
What is the pension board recommendation?
The pension board recommendation overall was a one-time $100 increase, because the 5% was the first motion and it failed. So then another motion was made for a one-time $100 reoccurring increase.
The pension trustees, that board, was only to prove or disprove in concept, not to actually approve it. That's the OUA board has to actually have final say-so in approval or disapproval of that pension amount.
So, in my mind, to remove Jamie from any future conflict or, criticism, I would rather table this till we had more board members here that weren't in the pension plan to make this decision.
That's board action. Jamie Mullis, is that going to present, when's our next,
I think we've got one in November, is our
Okay.
next meeting, so that shouldn't affect that.
I mean, just as long as we get it done before, at the October
I
meeting.
just don't feel like Jamie should put himself in that position to vote yes or no, because, that's just the way I look at it.
It was stated several times in our pension board meeting by our pension attorney that you're not voting on your individual, you're voting as a group. And if you took the percentage, I feel a little different. I abstained because I'm receiving a pension as well. But I'm standing there this morning as a pension chairman, bringing this to you from what the pension board decided.
And the pension attorney had told him specifically he had a requirement, a fiduciary requirement to vote, but he can always exercise his route not to, and his choice was to abstain. The same would be provided to Jamie Gamatea. Again, he's not voting on his specific retirement, it's for the greater good of everybody. If the board's position is you want to wait because you have 2 missing board members, we'll live with that.
What do the rest of the board members think?
I would agree that as long as it's not putting hurt on
anybody to not make the decision until next month, that we probably ought to wait.
Yeah, I remember.
I would also agree with the pension board that option 2 is probably more fair than option 1. I mean, you're getting the lower recipients, you know.
Well, you know, that was all discussed. This is not about somebody who retired 1 or 2 years ago.
Right.
This is about people who retired 10 and 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Who has never had an increase, no type of COLA.
Right.
Because it's not stated in the plan for that. And a lot of them said, hey, you know, the cost of living's went up over the years. We've never got anything. So we've looked at it a few times, and this is what we come up with.
Do other pension plans give us cost of living increase?
I'm not sure about general. I'll tell you, since the inception of the general plan back in the city days, back in the 70s, there's never been an increase. Now, I will tell you, police and fire has something in there that they get them all the time, but that's more through the state. There are,
has a 3% COLA.
there are other general plans throughout the state. Some have it in their plan, some don't.
But they're funded by the taxpayers, not by the customers.
There's probably some other utilities who are, you know, ratepayers' money paid, which I'm sure has it as well. So it's the board's decision to wait for the next meeting when we've got more. I mean, it's not gonna hurt.
Everybody's agreeable to that?
Yeah, I just apologize. We kicked this can down the
No.
road.
Well, last time we didn't have a forum.
Right. I apologize for that.
I only have one comment. I think the easy way to decide this, whether it should be done now or later, is to ask Mr. Gamatea, does he feel comfortable voting? If he says no, then you should wait till October, because you're putting him in a position.
So, Mr. Director, so I'm going to read, you know, the term is special private gain, you know, and I think that might be why the board attorney thought, no, that's not a special individualized private gain to the, you know, elected or appointed official. And in particular, there's more language that says unless it's a measure that affects the class, right? So there's a class of people, you're included as an officer of the board in that class. That's why the board attorney said, good to go. In other words, not a special direct private benefit. Sure, there's a benefit to you, but it's not as if you were bidding on something, right? And then you vote for yourself to get the award. That's a special private gain. So just to give the board a little context of what the conflict, how it reads in the statutes.
So if Mr. Gamatea is like Mr. Mullis, he understands that he can vote, but again, from his own personal benefit, he'd prefer not to, then clearly I would say you may want to defer this till October.
For the sake of appearances, I would say we wait. Just, everybody's under a microscope, and just to make sure that nobody comes back and says, well, y'all did this, or he did this, and just for the sake of appearances. Sure. Even though my vote would be for, as a whole. I'm just gonna keep it, maybe keep that way out of the headlines.
That's fair enough.
All right.
Is it a pleasure of the board then wait till October?
Yes.
Good. Bring it back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
That's what I was thinking too, maybe it should be made early in the agenda before the quorum.
Yeah. That is a good idea, because like I said, this is the second time.
I would offer to you then that we do everything all at once, and then they're here. We just had a limit where we had 3 members leave or not show up.
I was hoping to be able to.
I think we should have an alternative at large. So if we need somebody that they can.
A floating alternative.
A floating off, there you go. Alternative, there you go. I can't even talk today.
That Fifth Amendment's still floating around there if you want to get in there and, you know, upset the apple cart a little more, let's add some more
You're gonna speak about that when it comes to items of the attorney.
Mr. Finance Director, do you have anything for us this morning?
I'll be very brief. Alright, so, just in terms of from the revenue side, could you go to page number 2, please, in the finance report? Thank you. So, just in terms of the revenue, we are exactly spot on in terms of the budget. We are not over the budget, we are not below the budget in terms of the water and the sewer. We know the reason for the other revenue, right? That is the installation costs from the ratepayers accessing the discounted 75% discount before the expiration on the 30th of April. So if we look at the report, I know earlier there was some indication that we have a surplus, but the surplus actually arises because of the overheads. On the overhead side, we do have a budget of 10 million, but we are tracking at about 8.9. So there are a number of things that probably that we might have targeted that were not realized as yet. We know that at the end of the year, which is the end of this month, there are some month 13 costs that we have to carry back in. So that variance of 1.1 million will reduce because there will be things that we have to bring into from an accounting perspective. So overall, where we are in terms of the position, we are in good stead. In terms of the revenue, we are spot on. Expenses, I think we will still end up in a favorable position. The restricted revenue, we are actually ahead because of the number of ratepayers accessing that discount before expiration from the capital connection charge there. And in terms of the depreciation and the debt costs, we are actually behind in the expenses in terms of the budget. But overall, we are in good stead, and I don't foresee there be any major adjustment to materially change the position as we prepare the hearing and prepare for the auditor. Just want to remind, I made the point, but I just want to remind board members that after the audit is completed, we generally look at where we are positionally in terms of the cash in the operating funds. And if we think we have any excess funds from these operations, like in FY25, we generally move it to a restricted fund, something like the CIP, the Capital Improvement Project, to fund these things which we are financing from within, things like the Mallard landing and those type of things that are internally financed. So it's not just that we make these surplus and we accumulate it and keep it like a number, like other companies might be doing, right? So I just want to carry that out, you know. So in summary, that is the presentation of finance. If there's any questions, I will gladly answer. If there is none, I will ask the board to, if they so do, can accept the move a motion to accept the finance report.
Any questions for Larson? Do we have a motion to accept the finance report?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Lowenhauer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nomatia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay. Items for our attorney.
Thank you. Just talking about the interlocal agreement, we have the Fifth Amendment to the interlocal, went to the county board, was approved, went to the city, and at the very last moment, the city made a change to the part that was incidental relating to the compensation, right? The purpose of the amendment, I thought, was really to free up the ability to select board members, right, by making them eligible, anybody in the service area. We also added a provision about compensation, $35 per meeting. And the city had a problem with the use of the word compensation. The city, in its experience, has had issues when somebody who's on a board of adjustment or whomever is paid compensation. They call it expense reimbursements. It has something to do with tax purposes. And so we spoke to the county, the county identified that as a sort of after the fact amendment or addition that was problematic for the county and took it back to the city. And so as it stands now, the city is prepared to go back and just approve the original language. Why I think it's fine is that that's not monies that's going to be paid by the city. Although the city identified a problem with data experience, the board, the authority here is going to pay this particular compensation. It's okay to call it compensation because the interlocal mentions it. Other elected bodies that we represent use the term compensation. So it just so happened that it was a potential problem that the city identified, but not necessarily a problem for the authority. So we're going to go back to square one, get it approved. October 7th is the next city, council meeting, so I think we should get it approved by then.
Did the county approve that change? I thought they did not.
The county approved it, right, so that we are undoing the change. Right, the county approved it in its original form, $35 compensation plus expenses, right, because that was already built into the interlocal. Both things were in there, or expense reimbursement was already in there. Now it'll have compensation and expense reimbursements.
I guess I was being clear. The city made the change. That change went back to the county. The county did not accept it.
Yes.
So now it's back to the city as to where.
Correct.
Okay.
And it would be for the city to essentially ratify a previous version. I think there's some language I gave them as to how there's an easy way to do it.
Okay.
It's just to pull back and say, no, the original is what we approved. Scrivener's error, that kind of deal. So we should be fine by the 7th, if not the 21st of October. It should be sorted out.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Items from our executive director.
Sorry, just trying to write some notes down. Everything is here on the sheet as far as what's going on. We're still waiting on Project 2 to finish up. We're hoping by October. Project 3, the engineer's here, but he's assured me that it's on the front burner, and we will probably break Project 3 up into 2 projects so that we can get a portion that's not questionable out to bid, and the area that's holding us up, the crossing under the Rim Canal, that the Army Corps, we could just wait for them to approve the project. State Road 78's underway. Fifth Avenue, we're waiting on 2 different sources of funding. Maybe by November we'll hear on one source, else otherwise it'll be February before we hear about state revolving fund approving the remaining portions of that work, $2.7 million. Other projects are under. Let me at least bring, as a reminder, up, we would prefer, staff, if we're going to go forward with phase 3 of the State Road 78, to get an engineering RFP out for that. Along with the water main work might be a storage tank that the developer wants built up by Big O. If that's going to happen, we'll need to do an RFP. But the other one that I would like to make sure that the board is aware, we have worked with a vendor that has been doing work at the ozone system down at the surface water treatment plant. They have given us 3 different proposals to do either refurbishment of just the unit, or the other extreme, to completely replace the units with new units, and we're talking about an excess of $1 million. That's a lot of money. It's way above our normal spending practices. So what my recommendation is that we go ahead and do an engineering RFP select an engineer that is capable, well-versed in water treatment, and more specifically in ozone, and we hire an engineer to do a design contract type bid for ozone equipment, so that they can best evaluate the available treatment units that are out there, put it out for a public bid, and then move forward with the ozone improvements. So, again, doesn't really cost us a whole lot of effort, but we would be able to select an engineer based on qualifications to do that work. Lastly, groundwater treatment plant, long-awaited pilot study, again by a consultant, to look to see if they can treat that groundwater to remove the hardness, began Monday. It's a 3-week process to see if their equipment works, and if so, what it's going to necessitate to make permanent changes to the groundwater plant, and we can bring it online as needed and still have a good quality product coming out that's much softer than the 300 plus units that we're getting now, which is basically spitting out rocks. Again, the legislative delegation is coming up. I think it was October 1st. Y'all are more than welcome to attend and be there to wave the OUA flag. Any questions?
What time is that?
You would ask me. I have to go back and look. I think it's 4 p.m. On the 1st, right? Wednesday the 4th. Any other questions? Oh, it's right here in front of me. I got you read it. October 1st, 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions from the board? John, what's the update on the wastewater treatment plant supervisor? Are we having any applications or applicants?
The answer to that is yes. We're in the salary negotiation stage, last I heard, late last week, as to what they wanted, what we were willing to pay. He's quite qualified, been through telephone, on-site interviews, very well qualified. The only thing that I heard that was the supervisory capability, being in charge. Supervisory is a little bit of an issue, but operator, been around forever, working multiple different plants, wants to get back to the state of Florida, so it's just a matter of negotiating a salary, and I think his contract ends sometime in October, so he would be available sometime in November. Is that about?
How about the repairs of the mechanical separators?
So the last of the clarifier, number 2, is the prep work, the sandblasting and painting is done. It's just a matter now of the equipment supplier to build the equipment and then get it on site. We fly the old stuff off, put the new one in. We're waiting on them to get the product to us. So it's still going to be a couple weeks for the clarifier.
Mechanical separator that separates the solids prior to going into the system.
Headworks.
Is that what that's called?
No, this is after the treatment unit. It's one of the clarifiers. The second one, we've already done one. We're doing the second one. The headworks, again, we're trying to look to see if, in fact, we can get the legislative delegation approval to fund that. Otherwise, we would have to fund it ourselves. I don't remember what the number was, but it was $300,000 or $400,000 to do that improvement to the headworks. If you want, we can go ahead and do that ahead of time and not wait for the funding from the OUA delegation.
I just remember it was a concern because if stuff passed through there, it caused problems through the system.
Mr. Gamatia can certainly add insight to that, but it was that the bar screens were not working, and we now have them working in more of a manual mode, which means the operator has to go out there and rake it off and clean it, as opposed to the way it was originally designed. You had the bar screen and then a screw auger that would take the material, collect it, and push it out to the dumpster.
And that's still being done manually.
manual now. That's, I'm assuming that's the way it is. That's the last I heard. It's still a manual
Stream is
clean.
still running on automatic, so it's separating from the stream coming in, the plastics, rags, paper and stuff. But when it dumps it, instead of it going into an auger compactor that would squeeze the moisture out and put it directly into a dumpster, it falls in a pile and they have to go out a time or two a day and rake that about 5 feet across a sheet of plastic into the dumpster.
Okay.
Now, there's still a lot of material in the contact basin, you know, there, is that, drone stuff, the underwater service
We
stuff?
have there's a company that is working under a grant from DEP to come into wastewater plants that are treating less than 3 million gallons a day and do a sonar survey of our aerator tank, which is the first large tank after the headworks that receives the flow. So we believe there's a lot of sediments and debris in there. So this drone, sonar system would come and measure and map what's in the bottom of that thing. We know the given depth's what it's supposed to be, and it can determine how much material is built up on the bottom. And Sedivision is the name of the company, and again, they're working with DEP to get it funded, so it would be no cost to OUA. So we've applied for that service. It's not yet been approved by DEP. Assuming it does get approved and we get this map or chart to show where the buildups are within it, then there is a sister company that would come in at our expense with a boom vacuum type system and could remove these sediments while we're active in operation. We'd have to turn the drum aerators off for a short period, a few hours, but basically we come in and drop a dredge type hose down in there and be able to vacuum those things out, separate. The liquid would go back into our plant for treatment. The solids would be most likely have to be landfilled. So that would increase the capacity of the aerator and just clean up the flow of things, because if those sediments start blocking the bottom of the drain path, you know, it can affect how well things go to the next stage of treatment.
Thank you. You're done.
Meeting's over. My computer just turned off. Meeting's over.
So maybe, Michelle, we should put in a bathroom break sometime in the middle of these long meetings. All right.
It's lunchtime.
Anything else from anybody? No. All right, thank you. Meeting is adjourned.